Hollywood loves an epic, and this is the tale of three heroes, but only one will capture the prize. Buddy Rice, the All-American hero, bravely drove his way into title contention with 3 wins in the series' biggest events, including the Indy 500. But recent spectacular failures at Pikes Peak and Chicago leave Rice with barely a breath of hope. Dan Weldon, leader of the new British invasion, vaulted into title contention with a win from the pole in Japan, and then stayed in the hunt with wins on the short ovals at Richmond and Nazareth. Standing second in the title fight, he needs some magic to keep his hopes alive. And then there's Tony Kanaan. He used the late season disappointment to produce record-breaking results this year. He has completed every lap, 13 consecutive top 5 finishes, wins at Phoenix, Texas, and Nashville, and he stakes a solid claim on the IRL title. Kanaan now stands on the threshold of a blockbuster finish and the Heroes title, IRL IndyCar Series champion.
I don't know how this is going to work.
Oh, it's a beautiful day in Southern California at the California Speedway, and we welcome you to our Firestone pre-race show for this round 15 of 16 of the IRL IndyCar Series. Today, it's the Toyota Indy 400, a day that may decide the championship. And right now, the IRL Championship is most definitely on the line between Dan Weldon and Tony Kanaan. They both reach for that silver cup and for a place in history. But Tony Kanaan's almost sure thing became a nightmare yesterday. It started early in the morning when his engine developed a misfire, and as a result they had to do some work on it. Then when qualifying began, Darren Manning turned in one blistering lap, would have put him in the second row of the field, but on the second lap he lost control, got the wall. He went to the hospital with a concussion, and he will not race today. But it took a long time to clean up from that whole situation, and the clock was ticking on qualifying. Kanaan could not get his engine ready to go. Time ran out, and Tony will start in the back of this starting field. Now, here's the way the points look coming into this race. The real key here, only 2, Weldon and Kanaan, can make the championship. For Kanaan, a 4th or better will grab it. And for Dan Weldon, it's a must-win situation. Jack Arute, what's Tony thinking?
Well, he got lost trying to find his spot back here. You've never started this far back, Tony. It leads me to wonder, in the drop of the green flag, do you ride, do you race, or do you drop the throttle and just try to carve your way to the front?
Well, let's make sure. I did start in the back before, but this year, lately, no. But I'm charging to the front. I mean, that's what's going to happen for sure.
Oh, I don't know. Is that a good luck kiss? I mean, this is the guy that's trying to beat you.
That's okay. I mean, it's in the family, and we know what we have, and we're going for it. I mean, it's another race for me, and I'm not concerned about anything. I'm racing like I always did. Otherwise, it wouldn't be Tony Kanaan.
One guy that is feeling the butterflies maybe just a bit, turning into bullets. Another 2 guys upstairs that probably know exactly how this man's feeling. Let's start first with Scott Goodyear.
Thanks, Jack. You know, although Tony Kanaan looks really cool on the outside, inside the pressure is on. The only driver to complete every lap on the track so far this year, and he's led 859 of those laps. An average finishing position of 3rd. His worst finishing position was 8th at Homestead. He finds a place in completely different territory than he's ever been before. Matter of fact, he's in the danger zone right now. Starting at the back of the pack, you have the opportunity to maybe get involved in an accident that's just in front of you. And Gilles de Ferran, you know that it just takes one wrong move to put you out the tail for a championship chase.
That's right, Scott. I think Tony's biggest worry is an accident today. And by that, really, everything should go well when he goes on to Texas. I mean, that happened to me in 2002 when I was fighting for the championship in Chicago with 2 races to go. As we saw what happened with Manning yesterday. And unfortunately, that can happen to anyone. So I think what should be in Tony's mind today is to get to the end safely. Paul?
Well, When we return, we'll be talking with Dan Weldon, second in the points. He was the fastest car in the final practice session. And those final test sessions are a fantastic part of the racing weekend as fans and drivers fulfill the need for speed. If there is one reality about Southern California, it's their love affair with the car. All shapes, all sizes, and at all costs. No salt here to ruin the underbody, just plenty of style points for the bodies that ride inside.
To the Firestone pre-race show as we count down to the Toyota Indy 400 here at California Speedway. Well, it's been a huge weekend for Toyota so far. They said they'd bring more power to the table, and so far they've stuck to their word. Yesterday, after qualifying, they sat first through fourth on the starting grid. Unfortunately, one of those drivers, Darren Manning, spun on his second lap, hitting the wall. As you heard earlier, he suffered a minor concussion and a small contusion on his back. However, his teammate Scott Dixon had his best qualifying run of the season. He sat atop the pole until the very end when Elio Castroneves knocked him off by nearly a second. This is Elio's third consecutive pole and fourth on the season. And Paul, if qualifying was any indication, Toyota is definitely going to be the front runner into victory circle.
Oh, I'll tell you what, Jamie, that should set the stage for a remarkable 400 miles here at California Speedway. Here are the manufacturers and their victories thus far this season, but Toyota thinks they're going to come back today. The invocation is already underway in the ceremonies before the start of this race. There's Tony Kanaan, who, of course, has a possibility of a championship at the end of the day. Look at this. Every line there is a record. And Tony has actually raced every lap this season. No one else has ever done that. And Scott Goodyear, that's a pretty remarkable achievement for a team.
Talking about simply the team and the driver, it's a combination of both. Tony never putting a wheel wrong on the racetrack, and the crew, perfect pit stops, perfect preparation for their cars.
Well, the pressure is building now. Let's send you down to the track PA announcer and Southern California personality, Joe Benson.
And now, please welcome Grammy Award winner and MCA recording artist Leanne Womack as she honors America with the singing of our national anthem.
So proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, who brought bright and bright stars through the perilous flight o'er the were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night.
And the flyby from VFA 122 from Naval Air Station Lemoore, a couple of FA-18 Hornets. As we've suggested earlier, as this crowd now begins to move away from the starting grid and leave the drivers and teams alone, ready for the start of this race, it's really Dan Weldon's championship to lose. But he certainly has the attitude, the skill, the team, and the daring. He even has, surprisingly enough, the sincere best wishes of points leader Tony Kanaan. With him, we welcome back our Gary Gerald.
Well, Paul, you talked earlier about how for Dan Weldon, he needs magic on this day to keep his championship hopes alive. So I question you, Dan, at this point. Do you force the issue a bit? Do you take added risks trying to keep the championship chase going to the final race in Texas in 2 weeks?
I'm not sure that you've seen how competitive this championship is, these first 14 races, but no, I'm obviously going to try and go for the front as much as I can. I'd like to finish the season with the most amount of wins. Because obviously the championship is in Tony's reach. It's more for him to lose than for me to gain. But if I try and win these last 2 races, you know, anything can happen. I don't wish bad luck on the guy, but I'm certainly just focused on going to the front. But it'll be a good race. I'm sure we'll have a good time.
You start 13th. How concerned are you at starting this race at mid-pack?
Well, 13 is an unlucky number in England, so I'm not too happy about that. I'd much rather start 14 or 14th or 12th, but. I've often started in the mid-pack on these super speedways. For some reason, the old Klein Tools Jim Beam car doesn't like to qualify too quick, but it's very good in the race. So expect me to be up there pretty quick, I would say.
And keep in mind, there are bonus points for leading the most laps. If that opportunity is there, Paul, this young man will certainly be going for it.
Well, think about this team. Michael Andretti has created a racing masterpiece, an incredibly successful team founded in friendship among 4 very competitive drivers. Michael is a happy man now, relieved from the stresses of driving and basking in the sunlight of a championship as an owner. Coming up, a personal conversation with Michael.
It's just incredible, you know. It was an unbelievable year, you know. You hope for things like this, and you never expect them to happen, and it did. And you know, in my mind, it's the best team I've ever been associated with.
Welcome you back to California Speedway, the Toyota Indy 400 for the IRL IndyCar Series, as we move closer and closer to the start of this second from the end, the penultimate race of the season, and a battle for the championship. We mentioned Michael Andretti earlier. He is right now a very satisfied man living out his legacy. It seemed as if Michael Andretti was born with a steering wheel in his hands. Motorsports excellence, his heritage, as well as his destiny. He advanced through the open wheel ranks at a breakneck pace and moved on to auto racing's biggest stage with skill that would demonstrate his pedigree. He won races early and often, as well as a championship, but his demeanor did not always mirror the joy that the occasion should warrant. When he drove his final laps at the Indy 500, he seemed resigned to the fact he might always be known as the driver who led the most laps, but never won.
The way I wanted to do it was I wanted to retire knowing I could win my last race, knowing that I was still competitive. And, you know, I didn't win Indy, but it was a nice consolation prize knowing that when I did drop out, I was in the lead, you know, and I know I would have won the race.
Satisfied with his lot in life, his focus had already shifted to do something that few former racing champions have ever been able to accomplish: own a championship caliber racing team.
I started quite a few years ago, you know, thinking about it. So it's not something that I just decided, oh, okay, I want to do this now, I'm not driving.
Well, I was going to send him a gun so he could go ahead and shoot himself in the foot now, because I'll tell you what, owning a race team is so different than owning a business.
I'm proud of him because and it's a good thing because he's even happy with his new role. He's probably even happier.
He's really enjoying being able to enjoy a part of motor racing he wasn't able to. So spending time with friends at a race weekend, having a glass of wine, having a nice dinner, not being on a curfew.
When I was driving, I was a very tense person. I just, you know, it was miserable to be around, you know, and it's just the way I had to be to stay on top of my game. And once I retired, you know, people see, oh, that's him, you know, that's the people that are close to me know that that's the way I am, and that's the way I am now at the racetrack, where I never was like that before.
Now as a car owner, he's the real Michael, and the real Michael's a totally different person.
For us, Michael's a pretty analytical cat, even though I think some people may not see it.
Would I really join in on the celebration? Absolutely. Would I be proud of him? Absolutely. Only because I think he himself sees a whole new career, a whole new future as an owner for a long time in the sport that obviously we all love.
His skill at assembling all the right pieces produced a team that had few faults and a quartet of skilled drivers singing in harmony.
I know exactly what they're thinking, and why they're thinking it, and how they're thinking it, and what they need to hear at that point. And they relate to me, and we all have the trust with each other. And I think that's what really makes it work. And on top of it, we all love each other, all have a lot of fun doing it.
That love, respect, and camaraderie has translated into a dominating performance by the AGR team, the likes of which has never before been seen in the IRL IndyCar Series. 8 wins in 14 races, and on the verge of its first championship ever.
And Joe, a very much relaxed Michael Andretti, but I have to think about, you know, he lost the Speedway this year with his driver Tony Kanaan to Bobby Rahal with their driver Buddy Rice. Again, he lost the Speedway. Bobby Rahal's team beat him. He's not won there. What's that mean to a guy like him who wants to win the Speedway so bad?
Well, I don't know. He certainly lost it to me too, by the way, in 2003. But I tell you, there was nothing to me in the Michael Andretti race car driver that indicated that he was going to be such a great owner, and he's shown tremendously. I mean, he's got tremendous people skills. He's made some very good decisions in choosing the people that work for his team, and made some good decisions in the drivers. He's been fantastic with the sponsors, so he's really a true champion all around. Paul?
Well, Jill, in just over 6 minutes, the furies of racing will roar under the green flag, and a 500-mile chase will be on. Thanks for coming on board for our Firestone pre-race show. Now, sit back, strap in, because here we go.
America's biggest smash hit is all new on ABC tonight.
Good morning, Garay family!
A man loses his mother in a gang.
Final moment. Well, the preparations began early this morning. They continue right to the last moment. All of the teams getting ready for this final moment before the start of the 500. Now let's send you down to the public address.
Race fans now for the most famous words in motorsports, our Grand Marshal, Patrick Dempsey.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
So here's the Toyota starting grid. Helio Castroneves is on the pole, still looking for his first win of the season. Scott Dixon on the outside, looking for his first win. He's the defending series champion. In row 2, Sam Hornish Jr., the winner at Fontana the past 2 years. And Adrian Fernandez, a 2-time winner this year. Back in row number 3, it's Vitor Meira. He's had top 10s in all but 2 races this year. And alongside his Ray Hall Letterman teammate, Buddy Rice, the Indy 500 champion. In the 4th row, A.J. Foyt IV, a second straight top 10 starting position for the grandson of the racing legend. And Brian Herta, the only member of the Andretti Green team without a win this year. In row 5, Dario Franchitti, he has 2 wins this season. And alongside Dario is the rookie, Ed Carpenter, driving for Eddie Cheever. Back in row 6, it's Mark Taylor, another rookie. His best finish this year is a 7th. And alongside Thomas Schechter, who hasn't finished in the top 12 since a 5th in the season opener. Dan Weldon is inside row 7, 3-time winner looking for a championship, with Scott Sharp on the outside. In the 8th row, it's Alex Barron, the winner of the 400-miler last year on Fontana's Twin Track, Michigan. And Townsend Bell will start on the outside of the 8th row. In the 9th row, Koski Matsura, hoping to clinch Rookie of the Year honors today. And Tomas Enge, a native of the Czech Republic, making his first start for Patrick Racing. Felipe Giafoni is inside of row 10, with Tora Takagi starting on the outside. And all alone in the 11th row is Tony Kanaan, the championship points leader, who will have to charge through the field. And that's our Toyota starting grid. And there is Tony Kanaan, all the way in the back of this field. Boy, what a job he has ahead of him today. Look at that. An entire field line just ahead of him. And of course, on point at this group, Castroneves and Dixon. Here's the race analysis.
2-mile D-shaped oval, very fast racetrack, that 200 laps, 400 miles. Watch for the guys to go to lap 180 and start racing. Then survival is the key at this racetrack. Pit stops are also crucial. No mistakes you can afford if you're going to stay up in the lead group.
And the track here, a nice 75 feet wide, Scott.
Beautiful racetrack. If watch the wind today, it might come out of turn 4 down here to turn 1. That can cause a problem over here in turns 1 and 2 for the drivers. As Dixon found out yesterday, there is a very large bump down here, 5/8 of the way down the racetrack. Caused problems yesterday in the Infinity Pro Series, so it'll be very interesting to see how the cars react to that today, Paul.
Yeah, and they've done everything they can to try and smooth off that bump, but it is still a pretty stout moment when you go into turn 3 here. There's Tony Kanaan again, all of the records that he's put together this season. Last look down in the pits before the green flag. We start with Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, the crew for Tony Kanaan were serious and focused as they strapped him in the car. But the last thing Tony did was thank each and every one of them for their efforts. And then all of a sudden, Kevin Savary, one of the co-owners, walked up, whispered to Tony Kanaan, if you think this is your idea of a joke, I'm over it. Go to the front. Gary?
As for Dan Weldon, Michael Andretti's focus is a little bit different. He, of course, is concentrating on a 1-2 championship finish. So he said the important thing today for Dan Weldon, not so much to stay alive in the championship chase of Kanaan, but to make sure that Buddy Rice doesn't have a huge day and give up second place in the points standings. Weldon will be charging from mid-pack. Don't forget, he's starting 13th. Let's go to Jamie.
Well, Gary, we already talked about the new power that Toyota brought for their teams this year, but you can't forget, to this race I should say, but you can't forget about the power of Honda. They have been so dominating this weekend. This whole year, actually, Adrian Fernandez is their top qualifier. He's in 4th right now. Look for a good Toyota-Honda battle today, guys.
Have plenty of good onboard cameras for you today. There's Townsend Bell back in 16th place. Take you a little further forward to Scott Sharp. He starts 14th. And there is Thomas Schechter up at 12th place. And Adrian Fernandez, he's won twice this season, including the last race at Chicagoland. Scott Dixon up on the front of the field, and he's looking over at Helio Castroneves, who is the pole sitter. Toyota's occupying the top spots here, top 3 positions. Field now positions itself to come down. We're going to try and track Tony Kanaan while we track the front of the field. Remember, Tony is all the way at the back of the race. Pace car is off. Green flag. Father Phil DeRay has it. He waves it. And here we go at California. Dixon Racing's not giving up on Catherine Nevis as they hammer for the first turn, but look at that sweeping move to the outside, and take a look at Tony Kanaan as he comes carving up through that field. Adrian Fernandez moves to the front of the field. Tony Kanaan still trying to come through traffic as they fire off an aerial salute going into turn 3. Let me tell you, the Mexican is hot. He moves around the outside in turn 2 and picks up the lead.
Very smart start by Tony Kanaan. The rule is you cannot pass any cars on the start until you get to the start line. He was very close. He certainly did a perfect job of making sure he did not do that. Otherwise, a penalty would have come to him. He would have had to come in for a stop and go, Paul.
And as you can see, he's up making very short work of the 2 Red Bull cars. And now that's Brian Herta that's sitting high on him, and he'll be able to get a little help out of Herta. That's a teammate, of course. At the front of the field, you see that Helio Castroneves, the box on the left, is trying to work hard on Kanaan.
You can tell Tony Kanaan likes his car, guys, simply because he's going high, he's going low, he has the speed, he has the handling, though. He's able to go anywhere on the racetrack that he wants. Interesting to note on the start, the number 4 car of Thomas Schechter went very slowly. He either has an engine-related problem, electrical, or gearbox, because he's way off the pace.
May have said Kanaan, of course, meant Fernandez at the front of the field. Look at this as they try to go 4 wide, all moving around Tony Kanaan and Gilles de Ferran. That's exactly what you guys are talking about. He can't get in a bad situation back here.
I'll tell you, he's right in the middle of it now, but it looks like his car is handling really, really well. He's, like Scott was saying, he's able to go high, he's able to go low. He's already in 9th place, and you know, now he can sort of start to relax a little bit because he's already in the vicinity of where he needs to be.
The leaders, Fernandez and Castroneves, put about 200 yards on 3rd place, Sam Hornish Jr. Now we'll jump back as Tony Kanaan continues to move through the field. He's currently up in 9th, but he'll be in this lead shot.
Well, I'll tell you, another guy that had a good start was obviously...
Look at Franchitti. Oh, sorry.
That was a close call. It made me jump too. But Weldon also had a great start. I mean, he's up in to 4th right now and right in the middle of it too. So both guys from Andretti Green had a good start.
That's Weldon sitting high. Franchitti is just behind him in the blue and white car. Weldon, the number 26 Klein Tools machine. And Franchitti is, of course, there and available to help. There is the lead once again.
Tony's up to 6 already.
And you know Weldon knows that, Jill, because as you know, you hear it on the radio from your team management. You look in your mirrors, and all of a sudden, you see that car coming. So Weldon is thinking, you know something? No problems from Tony today, almost like he's had for the last day or so. This is going to come down to a race today.
And Jack Arute, Adrian Fernandez, is having a great day.
And Paul, how great is it? Well, I talked to John Ward, his engineer, and he said, when Adrian Fernandez says nothing on the radio, we know it's going to be a good day. So far, on the radio for Fernandez, silence.
Now remember, Adrian was the one that lost a gearbox in the morning practice, did not get much time on the track whatsoever, and ended up having to go into qualifying with only 3 or 4 laps in the morning practice. But he liked the car, went out there, and he said, I got a great race car.
This is the 4th race that Fernandez has led this year, and of the 3 previous races he led, he went on to win 2 of them.
Helio Castroneves, Paul, riding in the draft of Adrian Fernandez. The team wanted to see if they could jump out. Their focus was to go to the front with both Castroneves and Hornish and try to dominate the field early. Obviously, they're having to change places right now, and Tony Kanaan still on the move. He's now in 4th position.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, that battle for the championship, Weldon and Kanaan, is now right there on the track in 3rd and 4th place. There's 1st and 2nd. There is Weldon and Kanaan.
Jill, very interesting to watch with Adrian Fernandez up front. He runs a perfect line. He's down low, not allowing Castroneves to have any room underneath, and he wants to lead this race because he gets those few extra points towards his goal in the championship, which is to be in the top 5.
Well, I think both Adrian and Helio probably...
I have a report that that car, the 17 car, Mira, just touched the wall, and we have a caution out. Looks none the worse for wear. Looking at the right side of the car.
Well, the key thing I can see
look at the rear.
You look a little bit on the side of the car, you can actually see. Let's watch him as we go through here. A little bit high. You see he's up in that gray area. What's on the right-hand side. Just got a little bit pushed up there, so no grip up there, guys. And he was very, very lucky. That's a lucky day.
And as long as that didn't move the right rear suspension over a little bit, he should be in good form to continue on. Tony Kanaan so far has done everything he needs to do, but then again, so has Dan Weldon.
Will Bill Callahan's West Coast offense resurrect the Cornhuskers?
Does a condor rise from his own ashes?
Do you mean a phoenix?
ESPN College Game Day, built by the Home Depot, Saturdays at 10:30 on ESPN.
When it comes to truly great beer, fresh rules, the clean, crisp taste of brewery fresh Budweiser. Fresh beer tastes better.
Next time you start on your way, think about the gasoline you choose. New Shell V-Power is specially formulated to actively clean your engine as you drive. You have enough to deal with out there. Your gasoline can make a difference if it's new Shell V-Power.
Welcome you back to California Speedway as everybody under this caution heads for pit road. A little bit early, only lap 11. Go down to Jamie Little.
Well, guys, Thomas Scheckter was saying it didn't accelerate once the green flag came out. He said it was backfiring a little bit, and the pit road was saying, you know, you guys tried different fuel maps. He's coming in right now. They're making some changes, and Jack.
And for Dan Weldon, it was a front end change for Tony Kanaan, lighting it up, and Adrian Fernandez in for an abnormally long period of time. Fernandez loses the lead.
That was an amazingly long stop for Adrian Fernandez, the leader of the race. And on the exit of the pits, you think the Andretti Green Team is not fighting one another? The 26 car of Dan Weldon just roared out of the pits and around Tony Kanaan. Finally, Scheckter gets away.
Very aggressive for Tony Kanaan, leaving the pit lane, turn the car sideways. You know he wants to be up front, take the advantage of the pit stop. Certainly right now, the fast pit stops are going to pay off here throughout the day, guys.
Well, I tell you, Tony's in right where he wants to be. You know, if he can see Weldon all day, that's a good position to be in.
I'm going to show you how they came out of the pits. Now, remember, the pit positions are based on the finish of the last race. There goes Weldon, Kanaan, and there goes Hornish. And then you wait and you wait and you wait, and finally Fernandez is able to get his car away. And there it is.
And as you mentioned, Paul, Fernandez being the very last pit when you come in, the first pit leaving usually is an advantage, but something was delayed during their pit stop doing the work to the car, so they'll try and rectify that to take advantage of his pit box spot for the next stop.
We want to go back and take a look at this guy, the Pennzoil Panther driver Thomas Scheckter, at the start of the race.
Now you can hear that misfiring that he's got going on right now. This is on the start. The cars are passing him. He's trying to get to the right, get out of the way of everybody else, because he certainly knows he has a misfire. Using all those dials on the steering wheel right now, trying to change the mapping of the engine. That's the black box, the brains of the car, to try to get the thing to work a little bit better. Now his top speed so far has been about 203 miles an hour. Top guys are running 214. They have not found the problem as of yet.
Boy, Jill, I don't think I've ever seen a dance of hands on the steering wheel quite like that. Brian Herta with a problem in the pits, working on the back of the car, and we'll find out what's going on with that. But what, did you see all the hand movement?
I tell you, it sounded really funny. It just sounded like the engine wouldn't rev up to a certain point and then start misfiring. And ultimately, he was lucky in a way that nobody collected him from behind.
Gary Gerald, what's going on with Brian Herta?
Paul, it's obviously a gearbox problem. You've got two crew members underneath the rear wing. They're trying to unfasten the plate that covers the gearbox and the gears, trying to get in there. So we assume that something must be jammed. That's something you don't anticipate on ovals this early in the race. And also a quick update on Vitor Mira. He did come in. They changed tires. They checked over the car. No indication of any structural damage. They sent Vitor back out.
Now that's good news for Vitor Mira, who all season long we thought is probably going to do very well before the end of this year. As yet, he doesn't have that victory. Tony Schumacher, don't forget that he is closing in on his second career Powerade championship. And we will have 2 hours of elimination round coverage tonight on ESPN2 beginning at 8 o'clock Eastern. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. On the backstretch now, ready to come back to the green flag. They line up with Mark Taylor as the leader, but the real leader of the race, Weldon, Kanaan, Hornish, and then Scott Dixon.
Oh, actually, Paul, Mark Taylor is leading the race, and I wonder how he's going to behave here leading. It's not a position he's usually in.
Yeah, it's probably more like get down and out of the way. But Taylor takes him across the line. And immediately Weldon moves to the high side. A line that he tested a lot during practice. And Tony Kanaan comes with him.
Interesting to see on that start. It makes you wonder if there's some different ratios in the gearbox. Maybe he does not have the same acceleration that he wants to get off the green flag. Amazing how those two Andretti green cars is simply powered by him, and they're all powered by Honda.
Yeah, but in pursuit there, here come the two Toyotas of Penske Racing. Elio Castroneves and Sam Hornish Jr. Mark Taylor has given it a good, brave show, though, isn't he?
Well, the other key thing on this, Paul, when I think about it, is that Mark Taylor's probably throttled back on his fuel trim. He's running leaner. The engine produces less horsepower at that point in time. Remember, he did not pit, so he's going to have to really stretch his fuel window.
A little further back. Look at this. Here comes Buddy Rice, has come up and stuck his nose into this thing, too.
Well, I tell you what, also, Elio, who had a good restart, is really pushing up to the front here, trying to pass Weldon, who's obviously going to be conscious of the fact that he needs to lead, get the most laps here. But Elio is really going for it right now.
Absolutely, Joe. And on the other side of it, you know, right now he's thinking that he wants to lead because it's a Toyota-sponsored race, and Toyota came here with more power, as Jamie Little mentioned earlier. So certainly these guys want to put these Toyota-powered cars out in front. Little pride on stake right now.
I think more than that, he probably wants to lead because he hasn't won a race yet this year. So
you think that's part of the factor?
I think it's definitely part of the factor.
Tony Kanaan runs down low. Elio Castroneves goes side by side with Dan Weldon. He gets a little bit of a push from the 6 car of his teammate, Sam Hornish Jr. Look at that. That's at 200 miles an hour. Got his nose right up on the gearbox.
This is our version of helping each other out. You know, Sam is trying to push Elio down the straight a little bit. And just by staying on his drive very, very close, the guy in front will run a little bit faster to try to get by Weldon. But Weldon being down low, he has less distance to cover, and it's really difficult to pass. And here he goes, Elio passes Weldon. Thanks to Sam Hornish.
Sam Hornish goes into second place. You got a good view of that bump going into turn 3, back into the car. Well, the whole car really bounces, most visible on the rear wing.
And Paul, you mentioned that bump. That bump has really got worse since we were here a year ago at this racetrack, and Brian Barnhart from the IRL actually had a grinder come in on Saturday morning at 7 o'clock, and they took down about 3/4 of an inch to try and maybe make it a little bit smoother. It's much better, but certainly not like the guys would like it. You can see right there how much the car moves.
There's Fernandez, who was leading prior to the pit stop and then had a long stop and has not moved all of that much since he came out. He's currently in 8th place.
The track, you're going to just have to move up. That's where those guys are going to get to the front.
There's our Firestone telemetry.
Inside, way low. Inside, you're clear behind. Coast cage right behind you.
Now, as you hear the spotter speaking to him right now, you saw him go down a gear over here on the right-hand side, and his steering wheel, he's taking his right hand and moving it all the way up here. And Jill DeFerrin, you know, the car pushes when that happens, and that's why we hear him ease off the throttle going through the turn. The car certainly is not working as well as it did in traffic as it did for him when he was out in front.
I think you're absolutely right, Scott. It definitely doesn't look like he's handling very well in a traffic situation that he's in right now. So he much rather be leading. So later on in the race, maybe they will short fuel, something like that, to put him ahead of the pack because he's much more comfortable there.
Buddy Rice in third place, the 15 car out of the Ray Hall Letterman stable. Champion of the Indianapolis 500, but for all practical purposes, with 2 accidents, one at Pikes Peak, one at Chicagoland, threw away a possibility of a championship. When this race started, his possibilities were totally gone, but he still has a chance to win a race and prove himself.
I'll tell you one thing is really interesting that's going on right now. Helio Castroneves is running about a mile and a half faster than everybody else and really starting to pull away from the field. You can see that on that shot. Helio really starting to pull away, which is somewhat surprising to me that he's doing that early. He must have a really good car underneath him today.
Pull away, of course, being 0.6 of a second behind the leader. 214 miles an hour last time around for Helio Castroneves.
I think one of the things that's also helping Helio is the fact that Buddy's trying to pass Sam, and whenever you go side by side like this, you do lose speed as well. And you see Buddy's trying, but so far he hasn't been able to make it by Sam, and Helio is gone. And
now you see where, excuse me guys, you see where Weldon is? He had a little wiggle in the middle of turns 1 and 2 as he followed behind the 2 cars in front. Remember that dirty air that we always talk about, and you end up not getting as much downforce. The key thing was that Weldon got a little bit loose and worked his way all the way up the racetrack. He caught it though.
Well, Dan Weldon currently 4th. His teammate Tony Kanaan's right there with him. They've told the 11 car, be careful. Twice you've gone below the white line. That could be eventually a penalty. Castroneves leads in California. The IRL, the Toyota Indy 400 California Speedway, 26 laps complete. We've had 1 yellow. That one, Vitor Meira just brushed the walls. Continued in competition. Helio Castroneves leads. This is the battle right now. Rice and Sam Hornish Jr. Crowd looks down. Unfortunately, haze is still in pretty hard. Normally, we have a great view of Mount Baldy up behind the track. It's beginning to come out, though. Jackaroo.
Well, Buddy Rice may be eliminated in all intents and purposes from the chase for the championship, but he's looking for what used to be called in the old days the Triple Crown. You remember when they ran 500-mile races at Pocono, at Indianapolis, and at Michigan? Well, there's no Pocono outing, but now it's been replaced by Fontana. And the Buddy Rice people hope that their Pioneer Argent car can score a victory here to go with the Michigan and Indy 500 win, and they'll lay claim to the new 21st century Triple Crown.
Buddy Rice, the Indy 500 champion. Helio Castroneves leading the 8th race he has led this year, but as yet there is no victory for Castroneves at all. That's got to be bugging Helio.
Oh, well, I tell you, Buddy's slowly but surely reeling Castroneves in and getting closer and closer. Every lap he's running about half a mile an hour faster. And Dario is going around Sam Hornish, who all of a sudden really dropped off on this last half a lap, and he's really running wide. I wonder if something's going on with Sam.
Yeah, as he came off at 2, all of a sudden he seemed to drop back. Dario Franchitti, 2 wins this season, has been having a good year, seems happy about it, and was especially happy with the test that the IRL had for road course potential coming up. 3 races next year on the road course. He was really happy about that. Told me at lunch the other day, he said, you know, these cars were really good at it, and I thought we'd probably have a little work to do, but they were fun.
He looked like he was having fun. I was down there since I live only about an hour away, and both him and Helio in particular were like jumping up and down, and the cars really did look good.
That's good. A little work to figure out what brake system you want to use. They've got a winner to work on it, though. Castroneves, Rice, Kanaan, Franchitti, Hornish Jr. That's Hornish with the white wing on top of the air intake scoop.
I wonder what's going on with Hornish over there. He was running well up front there, and really all of a sudden just lost 2 or 3 spots. So what do you think, Scott?
Well, that was coming off of turn 2, Jill, and as you know, they had the truck race here last night, and our cars, Indy cars, have not been on the racetrack since then. So a lot of reports are coming in. A lot of guys are having problems in turns 1 and 2. The wind is coming from turns 4 to 1 down in that area, so that pushes the car along the racetrack. Just wondering if we need to have more laps on the track with our cars, putting our rubber down and maybe giving these guys a bit more grip.
What it could have been as well is that he didn't change tires during that first stop, so his tires might be getting a little used up towards the end of the stint here. He does look like he's back to speed again, though.
Joe, we just checked in with the Penske crew. Roger on the radio, Roger Penske, telling Hornish that they're working on an understeer concern of Hornish with tire pressures on the next stop. Also, Hornish did not change tires under that stop under yellow, whereas Castroneves did. So, in fact, tire wear could well be playing into the understeer problem.
And you'd figure, Gary Gerald, Penske cars, we're on lap 32, probably 20 laps away from a stop where they can at least correct the tire issue.
Yeah, we're looking at 19 laps from now, Paul, at lap 51 for one of the cars. We believe Castroneves, and Hornish at lap 52.
213 miles an hour last time by for Helio Castroneves, and a 0.3 of a second lead on Buddy Rice.
Sam is slowly but surely dropping back, and now he's doing 2.11s against 2.13s that Helio is doing.
Sam right there. We're going to take it back a couple of laps. Look at how high he is there. Wow, that's
Same
almost like
situation, Mira. Absolutely, Paul. Just a little bit high off the black section where all the rubber is, up into that gray section on your right-hand side. That's where you don't want to be. Now, you do remember the driver has some adjustable aids inside the car that he can actually use. A weight jacker to distribute weight differently on the car, maybe put some more weight on the left front, and also roll bar adjustments to change the handling on both the front and the rear of the car. And I suspect he's probably really just about made sure that he's used those as far as he can. They'll have to make adjustments in the pits next time.
Jackaroo, Tony Kanaan in third place. He stays there. He's got himself a championship.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to stay there. In fact, the call has gone out to his teammate, Dario Speedwagon Franchitti, to come up and help Tony Kanaan without using a lot of fuel consumption to move up to the front. The reason why? Because the 15 car of Buddy Rice and your current leader, Helio Castroneves, are beginning to put some distance between themselves and the two AGR teammates. AGR doesn't like it. They're now calling into service Franchitti in fourth to try and help Kanaan close the gap.
And you saw a few moments ago, we put up a graphic that is the points as they are positioned right now on the racetrack. And each time we do that, we'll highlight in gold who is the points leader. We put it up there. Of course, you saw that Tony Kanaan is, in fact, the leader of the points right now, and Weldon has dropped back to sixth place, but Dario Franchitti is up trying to help Kanaan as much as he can. We'll be back right after this. More, log on to ESPN.com. Back California Speedway, the Toyota Indy 400. Helio Castroneves is still the leader, but here comes a very serious Buddy Rice in the 15 car.
A Toyota-powered car leading, a Honda-powered car in second. Helio, probably one of the major guys in this series that has what I call the show and go. Show both on and off the track, and he loves to go fast.
Let me tell you, here in Southern California, well, globally, Toyota and Honda are always battling on the racetrack. Here is Mark Taylor. He has not yet stopped. When they brought the caution out, he came in, and so this is his first stop of the day on the 41st lap. Jamie Little?
Well, Paul, we hear he's not making any changes. It feels good. It had to feel good. He got to lead a few laps. Greg Ray is his team owner, and he just told me 99% sure he is getting back in the race car in Texas. That means it'll be a two-car team. Very exciting news for Axel.
So Mark Taylor goes back into the fight. You got a glimpse at the start there of Greg Ray, the owner, and hopefully the teammate when we get to Texas Motor Speedway. Mark Taylor won the Menards Infiniti Pro Race at this track 1 year ago.
Well, Mark actually, due to his green flag stop, just lost a lap, so it remains to be seen whether he'll regain that lap back later on. But that was the price he had to pay to lead those laps early on. So it's yet unclear to see if that strategy going to work out later on in the race.
Yeah, but at least it got him to lead for the first time in the IRL IndyCar Series.
There you go.
Brian Herta, we mentioned that he was in the pits, is now 21st, last place, 11 laps behind the race. They had to change the entire stack on the gearbox. Now, fortunately, when they open up the back of the gearbox by pulling the wing off, the stack comes right out and they can just plug another one in, but still it takes time. When you're turning these laps off at 213 miles an hour, you lose quick.
And Paul, you got to give the crew credit because they're getting into a situation where they take the back of the gearbox off. Those guys are in there with their hands and the hot oil that's in there, a couple of 100 degrees. Those guys are the heroes of the pit stops when they do work like that.
Well, I'll tell you, one thing is transpiring to me now that we're going into the last quarter of this first stint is really starting to show whose car is handling, whose car is not. And Helio is starting to pull away from everyone. There's a little more distance now between him and Buddy, and actually the first four cars are evenly spaced at this moment.
3 cars off the lead lap. We mentioned Brian Herta. Ed Carpenter has gone a lap down as well, and Mark Taylor, as Joe DeFerrin mentioned, when he made that stop, he went a lap down as well. But Jamie Little, imagine Greg Ray is pretty happy to see his guy run in front.
Very exciting to see Mark Taylor running up front, and great news for you guys, 2-car team.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Mark's been doing a great job. You know, I thought we had a car that maybe could have won at Chicago. We overcame that little bit of a bad weekend, and he's running good here. We had a great first pit stop. We're getting him sorted with the car, and I think we'll have a good car for the end. So first things first, we're focusing on this weekend, but I'm getting a little excited. Looks like we're going to run 2 cars at Texas. You know, our sponsor, University Loft, is stepping up, and we've created a lot of business for them, so we're getting pretty excited, but first things first today.
Greg Ray, double-duty team owner, and he's getting back in the car. Paul?
Helio Castroneves is the leader, but Scheckter looks like they got whatever it was working. He and Fernandez are running together at 10th and 11th. They're still about a mile an hour off the pace of the leaders at 212 miles an hour. And we're probably 4 to 5 laps away from the next round of stops by most of the field. And of course, when that happens, then hopefully both Carpenter and Mark Taylor will get back on the lead lap. Townsend Bell was 11th on the restart after that caution on lap 20. Now he's up in 7th place.
Saw some hand movement from Thomas Scheckter when we looked backwards from Adrian Fernandez's car. So either he's reaching up to take away a tear-off, which is a thin layer of plastic on your visor, because maybe there's some oil going on it for him to see, or possibly he was giving a little salute to Adrian Fernandez for taking his air away, Paul.
Got to be careful. That can be an expensive gesture.
I think it was one of those I'm not too happy with you gestures.
Well, we're at California Speedway. The race is now 48 laps old, the Toyota Indy 400, and it is a battle for the championship and a battle for the race. The race battle right now is Helio Castroneves and Buddy Rice. They run first and second, but then in 3rd place is Tony Kanaan. If he can stay there, then he will be the IRL IndyCar Series champion at the end of the race. But Dan Weldon, currently sitting back in 5th place, needs to win. He's currently 2nd in the points. And if Weldon can win this thing and Kanaan drops a little further backwards, we'll go all the way to the final race of the season at Texas Motor Speedway. Scheckter, pit stop, all well, and on his way.
Nice clean stop. And just to explain what he did earlier on before you saw him in the pit box, down the backstretch, he actually came off the racing line, dropped 2 wheels below the white line on the backstretch to signal to all the other drivers that he was entering the pit lane, because the cars enter off the track here in turn 4, just to give them an indication and a heads up, not to surprise them.
Helio Castroneves does a little dart back and forth. One of the indications you're going to pit is to drop the left side wheels behind the line. And he did, then he didn't, and now he comes flying into the pits. Hits the brakes hard to get it down to the mandatory speed limit. Buddy Rice comes ripping in right behind him, as does Kanaan, Franchitti, Weldon. The rule is follow the leader, Gary Gerald.
They are in sight, and it'll be interesting to see who gets the advantage. Tony Kanaan will go to the deep end of the pits as Castroneves comes to a stop. He said he had a little understeer when he was in traffic, but not in clean air. No wing change. He's about ready to roll, waiting for fuel. He's out. Here comes Rice.
As he gets underway, let's see what job he does not have enough speed to beat the Marlboro car. It's Rice and then Franchitti. A long stop. Problems on the left side for the 26. Dayton Weldon, and he is out in the way as well, boys.
Well, that was a long time for Weldon. Here is Sam Hornish on the pit road. These stops are changing the whole nature of the event. And it seems like we're seeing a little more trouble than we've normally seen. Gary?
Well, we watched from the back of the car this time. They will make a front wing change, one turn. The turn has been made, the tires are on, the fuel is in, and Hornish has gone with a very smooth stop. Adrian Fernandez now out in front, but he's coming in.
Well, Adrian Fernandez picked up the lead of the race once again. Look at him slow it down. And he will come in. Remember, we are under green.
Well, Adrian Fernandez had a problem on the last pit stop with one of his lug wrenches. It failed on the left side. Let's see if they are able to establish this under green flag conditions a little more efficiently. The Firestone Firerock tires are going off. Nominal stop. They need to cure an understeer problem on this car. And Fernandez in the Visit Mexico Special is off and away.
Oh, I tell you, you can make a lot of time going in and coming out of the pits, especially on the green. And that's why you see a lot of drivers driving in as fast as they can, locking up the tires, trying to slow down and everything else. And the same but opposite will happen on the way out of the pits. Even though they're going through the pit exit road, they're trying to push the car all the way to the limit to try to get away and get as fast a stop as possible. And that's what you see now that Elio and Tony did on the way out. And leading the race, he managed to pull away from everyone a little bit.
Well, Jill DeFerrin, you won the Indianapolis 500 in a car looked very much like the number 6 car of Sam Hornish Jr. There is Elio Castroneves. So with the cycling of the stops, Castroneves comes back to the front again with Tony Kanaan right behind him.
It seems to me like Tony was one of the big beneficiaries of this first round of stop. He's now in touch with the leader, and in second place, sitting very comfortably there.
That's Tora Takagi that lies just ahead of them. Started in the back of the field, and that might give Tony Kanaan the opportunity he may need. Now, Elio got out there quickly.
You know, Paul, I'm not so sure Tony's going to go for the passing Elio maneuver. I think he's quite happy to just sit behind Elio there, save some fuel, and now that he's in his draft, per se.
So with Elio Castroneves back at the front of the field, Adrian Fernandez was all over the brakes coming into the pits to get slowed down to the pit speed. Well, at the start of the Toyota Indy 400, it was Elio Castroneves on the pole who took the early lead, but by turn 2, Adrian Fernandez came screaming around the outside. Thomas Scheckter had some pretty serious problems. They've now corrected him, but he dropped well back. And then Tony Kanaan, from the last position in the field, moved up to the front in quest of a championship. Andretti Green Racing then ended up with Weldon and Kanaan in first and second place, soon to be overcome by Penske Racing, who then went first and second. And now, with 61 laps complete, it's split. Penske in the front and Tony Kanaan sitting in second place. And least we forget Ray Hall Letterman, it's Buddy Rice that is back in third place. He's followed well back by Franchitti, Hornish, Townsend Bell, Vitor Mira. So obviously that brush with the wall didn't do any real damage to the car because he's kept it rolling. But Adrian Fernandez has dropped back to 8th after leading in the early going.
The one guy that actually was a benefit for that pit stop was Hornish Jr. because he's now up there running speeds as quick as the leaders, maybe even a little bit quicker, and he's actually starting to march forward, and he's doing it by himself without a drafting partner, Jill. He's out there just marching forward and catching up to that lead group.
Yeah, he's slowly catching up Dario. He's about let me see, about 2.5 seconds behind Dario. Earlier on, he was over 3 seconds behind Dario, so he's getting closer and closer to Dario Franchitti. But these 3 guys here up front seem to me like they're slowly but surely pulling away from the group. And of course, this is early in the race, so we don't know if these are going to be the 3 horses later on in the race, but they show good potential. The cars are running well, and they you know, seem to be happy with it, let me say.
Elio Castroneves, you remember the Penske pit had a problem with a fire a couple of races ago, and Gary, they found a potential disaster lurking that they've figured out how to fix.
Right after that last stop, Paul, there was indications of a pinhole type leak in one of the hoses for the fueling purpose. Several gallons, of course, go into one of these hoses. So what they're doing is replacing the hose as we watch. And obviously, having just fueled the car, they've got plenty of time to get this done. And it looks like they'll have it done here in the next few moments. You can see the old hose off, the new hose going into place. Now the big part will be getting this huge nozzle. Remember, it weighs about 18 pounds, and they'll have to get that in place as well. So a little drama behind the wall here, but purely a precautionary measure.
The leader, Elio Castroneves. Hopefully that hose will be correctly fixed. You can assume it will be, or they wouldn't even consider working the car. Tony Kanaan right there, traffic on the backstretch, and that enormous bump. You'll notice going into 3, they stay as far high as they can, trying to get around the bump. It affects like the lower half of the track. Back in 9th place is Dan Weldon. He needs to win. He's right there behind the 17 car of Vitor Mira, the 26 Klein Tools car. It's Weldon. And he lies about a half a lap back, and in that, he is also running about 1 mile to 2 miles an hour behind the leader of the race.
I'll tell you, things are certainly not going well for Dan Weldon right now, because not only he really needs to win the race, but it would help if he can get the point, 3 points, I would say, for the most laps led. And right now, things are not looking too good right now.
And Jill, I don't think you're going to see Dan Weldon leading during this stint. The car has developed an understeer. The car is pushing very badly in the corners. And I asked Michael Andretti, well, can they cure it from the cockpit? He said, no, I think we're just going to have to ride this one out to the next series of stops.
Well, coming in, you plan this to be a 5-stop race at 400 miles. And you can, though, there are a bunch of different techniques that are getting more and more impressive on how you can get better fuel mileage in between the stops.
And that's what drivers try to do. You see them running in behind cars as we watch Danny Weldon now starting to slice underneath. Townsend Bell looks like maybe he got the low line, which gives the car a little bit more grip to help that understeer problem that he has. But Paul, you talk about the fuel mileage. What drivers try to do is to run in that draft and let the car in front break the air, let you use less horsepower, less fuel to actually run the same time that the other guy is in front of you. And that's the key thing to saving fuel. It's almost like riding behind a tractor trailer on the highway, and you get that benefit from that big hole in the air that he sort of punches. That's exactly what these guys are doing here.
And Scott, that's exactly what Tony Kanaan finds himself doing right now, running in that second position. He is just cruising behind Elio Castroneves. And Kim Green told me, he said, I know for the fans, right now our performance looks boring. He said, we've excited them all season long. Today they'll just have to be bored. We want to maintain a steady pace, conserve our fuel conservation and our consumption. He said, maybe we can get them standing on their feet at the end of the event, but not right now.
Well, Jack, sometimes boring is the way to win a championship. You know, Tony does not need to be spectacular today. All he needs to do is finish well, and he's got the championship wrapped up. I'm sure he doesn't want to put the fireworks up in the air today.
Well, I can certainly see an attitudinal difference between the way you guys look at it and the way I look at it. I want him up under the gearbox, and you as a driver, oh, no, nice and easy, no problem. Here is the fact on Kanaan, who is on the verge of the championship. 4th place or better, he's got it. He has to leave here 54 points ahead of Dan Weldon. Castroneves, Kanaan, Rice, the top 3. There is Kanaan's points right as of the last lap. We'll be back with more in the Toyota Indy 400. Sun shines down on the California Speedway, the Toyota Indy 400, the IRL IndyCar Series. It shines brightest at this moment for Elio Castroneves with 74 laps into the record book. He is the leader. There is 2nd and 3rd Tony Kanaan and Buddy Rice in the 15 car. Sam Hornish is sitting back there in 4th place, but it is a long way back, over a second. It is between Hornish and Dario Franchitti for 4th place right now. Franchitti with 2 wins this year, Hornish with 1. Hornish won the first race of the season at Homestead Speedway. He has not won since then. In fact, neither of the Penske cars have.
Paul, you know what's interesting to me watching this right now? All season long, the Toyotas could keep up with the Hondas if they were running in the draft. On a few occasions, sometimes they couldn't even do that. But today, as we're watching right now with Helio Castroneves, he's actually pushing the air. He's by himself out front, and his Toyota-powered car, with the new improved Toyota this weekend, is now pulling away from the two Honda-powered cars, which is Kanaan and Rice.
And we were talking a little while ago, and then we got distracted. The global rivalry between Honda and Toyota, and you and I were driving through Torrance, California, what, 45 minutes or so from here the other day, as Buddy Rice tries to go for the move on Tony Kanaan and grab second place away. And the fact is their U.S. headquarters are, what, 3 blocks away? No wonder they're at each other all the time. They probably all go to the same watering hole.
Sure, there's a line divided somewhere around Torrance Boulevard over there.
This is an interesting situation developing here. I think Rice, he dropped back a few laps ago. Now he's apparently trying to pass Tony for second place, you know, and these guys, they're not best friends. And you see Tony saying, hey, go.
Yeah,
Tony's letting him go down the inside.
Yep.
Which I think it's a smart move, because he really doesn't need to be fighting with Rice. So he's saying, ooh, they nearly touched there.
You know, I gotta wonder the wisdom of sticking your arm that high out of the cockpit at 215, 16 miles an hour. Bet it hurts. You may never get it back down.
It definitely hurts. He really stuck it out.
But you know, that's why Tony Kanaan is going to win the championship this year, guys. You have to think about how smart he's played this out. Whenever he's had a car that could actually win, he's won. Whenever he's had a car that's actually been able to finish third, he's finished third. He's not pushed the limit of the car and actually taken it to maybe an accident. This is why he's smart. He's got the complete package as a driver.
Yeah, take a look at this. So watch his left arm come out of the cockpit to show Buddy Rice to go to the left side. And look at the wind grab it a bit there.
I tell you, he's like Scott was saying, he's made some very good choices throughout the year, not only during the races but on setup, and his car is most of the time being very, very good, and that's down to him too, making the right choices with his engineer to get his car running right. And again, he's running competitively here, decided not to take the risk in fighting with Rice, and I think that was a wise decision.
Yeah, but one thing with Tony Kanaan, he doesn't try to over-control the situation. He just gets on top of events and follows them to his best possibility.
I like celebrations when they come naturally. I don't like, in my mind, it's either superstitious or not. If you plan it, it doesn't work. Even, I mean, it never did. Never did to me in racing, it never did to me in a date. It's like when you go date this beautiful girl, right? You go, all right, I'm gonna see her. So you take a shower, you put your best perfume, your best clothes, she doesn't show up. And then the day that you have your worst clothes on, you haven't took a shower, you've been sweating all day, she shows up. So basically that's the way it is. So I don't know. You guys, you watch and you see what I do. I don't know. I don't know what I would do.
We do know one thing that Tony Kanaan is very comfortable with, and that's being in the cockpit of a race car. When he started, we've documented him coming up through the ranks driving go-karts. Let me take you back to Brazil when he was invited to his hero's house, Ayrton Senna, for a go-kart race with Formula One drivers when he was still a teenager. Senna said, gee, I don't have a go-kart for you, but there's a pile back here of stuff. As Fernandez is working over Dario Franchitti, and they allowed Tony Kanaan to start scratch on the field, start in the back. By the time this little get-together with Formula One drivers was over, a youngster by the name of Tony Kanaan had beaten all the Formula One drivers, and his hero, Ayrton Senna.
Now that pass on Franchitti puts Fernandez into 5th place behind Sam Hornish. The leader, Helio Castroneves, the Marlboro Team Penske #3 car, just went around Koski Matsura, the 55 car, who has a very good chance of wrapping up the Bombardier Rookie of the Year standings here. There's Koski. Had a pretty good year too. He, like Mir, is one of those guys we thought would probably score a win before the end of the season.
Very, very fast early on in the season. He loves these big tracks, and you know, he's back next season with the same team, same sponsors, with his teammate Adrian Fernandez. Watch for them to be a factor next year.
So Helio Castroneves may be on his way to his first win. 84 laps are complete. Can he stay out in front? We'll see. Helio Castroneves still in the lead, 87 laps complete in the Toyota Indy 400. Castroneves just put A.J. Foyt the fourth in the 14 car a lap down. Now Buddy Rice gets up and around him. Let's go to Jimmy Little.
Thomas Scheckter is in. He said no changes. He's happy with the car. And, you know, he was having problems at the beginning of the race. They said one of the fuel maps was shorting out another fuel map. So right now they're not making any changes. They said they're just going to cross their fingers and hope everything goes well. Keep in mind he has not finished in the top 12 since the first race at Homestead.
And remember, too, he's in a bit early because he is, in fact, out of sequence with everyone else by a lap or two only, though. We expect the leaders in very quickly. Castroneves, right now. Tony Kanaan, and still there they are, buddy.
There they are here. Helio trying to slow down again. Really big lockup over there, but he's not going to use those tires anymore, so who cares, huh?
Yep, get rid of those. Give me some new ones. Let's go to Gary.
3 pits separate Helio Castroneves and Buddy Rice. Castroneves hits his marks. Rice is now in. Kanaan goes by us toward Jackaroo. We watch now for Castroneves on his third stop. No wing changes. The same for Buddy Rice. Castroneves is rolling. Rice is rolling. Jack
and Tony Kanaan, no wing change, but not enough speed on that pit stop to get by Helio Castroneves. He will queue in between Castroneves and Buddy Rice. Again, Dan Weldon and Dario Franchitti finishing their work. Franchitti is on the button first. By virtue of pit position, Dan Weldon will beat him.
Wow, did you see Franchitti pull way wide as he came out of the pits, going right for the high-speed lane under the green stops, and of course gets Kanaan the one position on Buddy Rice and keeps Kanaan in fighting place for the championship. All he needs is a fourth or better. Right now, Adrian Fernandez is the leader. But again, Adrian Fernandez will be stopping, well, probably in about 4 or 5 laps.
Well, they'll be stopping even
now.
He's
stopping now.
They're laid out, and they are ready for Adrian Fernandez. Remember, this is so reminiscent of the way Adrian Fernandez ran his race at Michigan that he won. And now Fernandez trying to climb his way back up through the ladder after having first a problem on the first pit stop and then an understeer problem, and now his third stop.
Remember the wing.
Here he goes to work, methodically changing the 4 Firestone Firehawk tires. They make another wing adjustment. Waiting for the 30-yard fuel.
All clear.
And there goes Sam Hornish, and it'll be side by side out back on the racetrack.
Continuing to cycle through with 92 laps complete, approaching the halfway point, the 200-mile mark. Pit stops under the green. And so far, they've been nice and clean, no problem whatsoever. The first round of stops came on the only caution that we've had today, and that was just a brush with the wall coming off of 2 by Vitor Mira, and he's continued in competition. Reminder, if you're looking for the 10 car of Darren Manning, he caught the wall pretty good as A.J. Foyt the fourth comes into the pits. He's had another great weekend. Good qualifying position, great run in the final practice. But Darren Manning, when he went for his second lap of qualifying, caught the wall hard off of 2, suffered a slight concussion and some contusions, and not racing today. Doctors will take another look at him in a week or so and decide if he can come back.
Watch this pit stop action right now. You're going to see very close Weldon and Rice. Weldon on his way in, and then Rice on his way out. Those guys were very, very close. A nice wide pit lane here gives those guys a lot of space to be able to maneuver. Remember, they're not trying to lose any time either going in or coming out.
Yeah, but for Weldon, that was a pretty wide arc coming into the pits.
Well, he actually probably knew that Rice was on his way out, and he gave him a little bit more time and a bit of a different angle on the approach.
So now with everybody stopped looking back, from Adrian Fernandez to Dan Weldon.
Got a mixture 2.
Weldon needs to win this thing, and right now he's 7th.
You know, you think about Adrian Fernandez, guys. Here's a guy that came into the series late, really had a bad couple of races, didn't get his legs underneath him until Indianapolis, and now he's turned around and won 2 races. Kentucky and Chicago, has always been competitive. You know, he's the only driver over 40 years old in this series.
I raced with Adrian Fernandez in 1989 in Formula Ford in the UK, so and he's older than me as well.
I knew you were going to add that in.
Yeah,
I can see that in your
Jill,
face.
the big difference between you and Adrian Fernandez. Fernandez has a private trainer. He is a fitness buff. He works out about 5 to 7 hours a day. I don't know about you, but he's in a pretty good shape.
Jack, you're calling me out of shape.
I didn't call you that, Jill, but I heard you had to stop halfway up the stairs to the booth.
Yeah, I did, actually. I put about 20 pounds since I stopped racing.
Hey, come on. Let's not be getting on Jill. Indianapolis 500 winner in 2003 and the closed course record holder set right here at this track at better than 241 miles an hour. What was that, about a 300 horsepower motor?
Well, it was a little bit more than 300. It was about
more than 1,000.
It was just over 1,000, and you know, it was in fact that day also Adrian was fighting for the championship with me on that day, on that weekend, I should say.
So now Adrian fights with Dan Weldon, who's being pressured by Sam Hornish.
Well, I wonder if all those changes, if they made any changes during the pit stop for Weldon, because he certainly looks a lot stronger than he was earlier on, and perhaps happier with the car now. I don't know.
With Tora Takagi, the 12 car down low, Hornish and Weldon now go side by side again. Battle is for fifth.
I was going to say, actually, Adrian Fernandez was a smart one, chose the fastest way around Takagi there, who started to move a little bit once he went across the start-finish line into turn one, giving those guys a little bit of a heart scare.
It gave me a heart scare. They came very close.
A little different watching it up here now than when we used to be in the cars, isn't it?
Yeah, much more comfortable here.
I love watching you two guys during the race and during that final warm-up session, because you both look like those guys are crazy down there.
They are. They're nuts.
Castroneves, Rice, Kanaan, Fernandez. Kanaan is exactly where he needs to be for a championship. Helio Castroneves is where he needs to be to win this race. And the halfway point is coming up in one lap. Monday Night Countdown, that comprehensive analysis, interviews, highlights, and up-to-the-minute NFL news and live reports from the site of ABC's Monday Night Football. Get all of the news from the best in the business beginning at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. And then tune into ABC for one of the NFL's best offenses taking on the toughest defense as Priest Holmes and the Chief battles Ray Lewis and the Ravens. Monday Night Football on ABC at 9 Eastern. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Well, we've just crossed the halfway point. We're now at 104 laps. Tony Kanaan is in the position that he needs to win the championship. He's currently third place. He needs a fourth or better. He needs to leave here with a pad of 54 points over second place, which is his teammate Dan Weldon. Weldon needs to win, and currently Weldon is down in fifth place. The leader of the race is Helio Castroneves, looking for his first win of the season. Castroneves is being chased by Buddy Rice, the Indy 500 champion. And then, of course, Tony Kanaan, who is working very hard in that number 11 711 car on Buddy Rice, who is just ahead.
I think Tony looks very comfortable where he is. He's not going to try to pass Rice, I don't believe. I mean, he came out of the pit stop in front of Rice, and obviously Rice was able to get by him. So he looks comfortable there, and he's just going to sit there and hang there and try to not incur too many risks on his way to the checkered flag.
Well, you saw they were averaging 195 miles an hour, but maybe more importantly, Helio Castroneves is now 84 laps in the lead. That hurts Weldon too, because if he can get a majority of lead laps, he's going to take some points away from Weldon that Weldon needs. It doesn't matter to Kanaan, it matters to Weldon.
For sure. I think it looks very unlikely that Weldon will get those 3 points at this moment for those most laps led. So that is not good news for Dan, who's currently 13 seconds behind Helio, which is about half a lap behind.
But you know, the relationship between the two, Tony Kanaan and Dan Weldon, is kind of fascinating. Weldon is the student, Kanaan is the mentor, and they are fast and firm friends. It's wonderful to see how they get along off the track. In fact, the whole Andretti Green team, like a fraternity with credit cards.
I guarantee you, though, Paul, they all want to beat each other very, very badly.
Once you guys get in that cockpit, you get mean, don't you? Go back and take a look at Scott Dixon, who is back in 11th place. He started up in the front. You'll notice as we look at the Firestone telemetry that the car is a little different color. It's pink. It's the Target Chip Ganassi team's away trying to call further attention to Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Interesting to see the speed right now that he's getting, guys. 208.9 miles an hour, a couple miles an hour off the pace, not only in top speed as we see here, but also in the average speed. The throttle 100% all the way around here, not lifting unless you end up having the car start to go out from underneath you. We call that push sometimes, or getting loose. But also here, tire temps right in the perfect zone right there in the green, probably working just perfectly for him. Just doesn't have the speed. Maybe the car's not working exactly what he needs right now, Gilles, because he's been fast all weekend with that new Toyota Power, but certainly has not been able to move up through the pack here after the start of the race.
Now, it does look like he's got quite a bit of understeer, especially through turn 1 and 2 there. I'm not so sure what's going on.
On the west side of Indianapolis in the town of Avon, we want to say hi to Tim Trusnick. He's a strong supporter of the Indy Racing League. We know he's always in the chair and watching when the races come on. Take care of yourself, Tim. Now let's go to Jamie Little.
Well, Paul, we also want to say hello to Darren Manning, who I'm sure is watching from the hospital right now. Have you spoken to Darren, and how are his spirits?
He's fine. You know, Jamie, he has a slight compression fracture in his back. There's no surgery or anything like that required. It's just a matter of him laying low for a couple of weeks.
Chip Ganassi, of course, the owner of the #1 and #10 car. Let's talk about Scott Dixon. He's out there. He's looking very fast, very competitive, but I understand you guys are losing some places on pit road.
You know, Toyota's been really good to us. They've given us more power this weekend, and, you know, we're just not taking full advantage of it right now. We had a little mix-up yesterday in the race practice, and we're just not taking full advantage of the power we have right now.
Oh, last pit stop, you guys. Chip told me Scott's second gear is too tall for pit road, so that's where they're losing time. But right now, his times are up to speed with the leaders.
Yeah, he's running. He turned the last lap at 211 miles an hour. Leader Helio Castroneves is at 213.5 right now, and Castroneves is in the clear. No traffic to worry about. There is Castroneves. Actually, he's closing pretty quickly on Mark Taylor, who led his first IRL IndyCar race today by staying out during that first caution when Vitor Meira brushed the wall. At Toyota Power, Marlboro Team Penske. Yeah, they were happy when those engines came in. They felt really good about them. Buddy Rice, Honda Power.
Well, I tell you, it really looks like his Toyota is done the business for Helio, because Helio is really starting to pull away little by little from Buddy Rice. He's now 3.2 seconds ahead in the road, and you see Tony going down the inside of Buddy. Maybe Tony can run a little faster and get closer to Helio. We'll see.
Yeah, but every time he goes down there, he's got to deal with that bump. Still, it worked for him, at least it looks like it this time. He's going to have the shorter time around. Kanaan right in position. Well, now more than in position, being in second place ahead of Rice for a championship. Brian Herta, remember, he had his problems early and is well behind the race itself. They had to change the gear stack in the gearbox. The first stint until they got that fixed was a real problem.
You know, this is a phase of the race that, to be honest, they all trying to figure out who is fast and who is not in preparation for the end of the race. So maybe what did happen there is Buddy said, well, perhaps Tony's a little bit faster. We don't want to lose touch with Helio, so let Tony lead this part of the race. We'll get back in touch with Helio, and then we'll try to decide who gets the best of it in the end of the race.
A.J. Foyt the fourth, you saw him for a moment there, currently 13th. He's had a great weekend. Alex Barron, who we're beginning to wonder what his situation is going to be for next year in the 51 car out of the Cheever Red Bull stable. Barron runs down in 14th. Here's the new kid, Tomas Inge from Czechoslovakia. His first ride in an IRL IndyCar, driving for the Patrick Racing stable. Nice guy, a great history in Formula 3000. A little further back, be Adrian Fernandez and Dan Weldon, and that is a continuing fight for fourth place. Fernandez, 2 wins this season. Weldon second in the fight for the championship, and has proven himself to be, as you look at him back there behind Adrian Fernandez.
Very close together there. It does look to me like Weldon is trying to make it by Adrian, because he probably believes he's faster.
Sam Hornish Jr. was up at the front, started on the inside of the second row. He's now faded back to 6th, but he's running laps competitive with the lead, 212 miles an hour. And of course, Dario Franchitti, 2 wins this season. A man looking forward to the 3 road course events they're going to run next season in the IRL for the first time. And Felipe Giafoni, the Dreyer Rheinbold team, currently back in 15th place. Hey, Koski Matsura, we mentioned his positioning in the Rookie of the Year fight. He's been strong all season. Scott Sharp, I'll tell you what, he's been having just a terrible time with the handling on this car. They've never seemed to have gotten it right. He's in his 89th consecutive start in the IRL, a record, but it doesn't look like he's on his way to a win this season, which will break a pretty significant string for him. Vitor Mira currently running in 8th place. Looks like this is going to be a solid effort for next year. And then Thomas Schechter, Chevrolet Power, 9th place behind Mira. Trouble in the early going, but he's been able to correct those problems and is now trying to move himself forward. Last lap for Helio Castroneves, by the way, at 212.7, so it's beginning to fall off a little bit. And there's Townsend Bell, currently in 10th place. He started back in 16th. And there's some conversation about what will happen within the Panther/Menards team this year and what will happen to Townsend Bell. So that's a rundown through some of the key players in this field for you. The most significant of those at 120 laps is Penske's driver. Back at California Speedway in the shadow of Mount Baldy, the Toyota Indy 400. The leader is Helio Castroneves. He has now led a majority of the laps in this race. And as a result of that, he gets the 3 points for leading the most laps. He can't be eclipsed now. And that means that Tony Kanaan now only has to finish 5th or better in order to wrap up the championship. He's doing much better than that. He sits now in 2nd place and just about 2 seconds behind the leader, Helio Castroneves. And we're expecting pit stops to come up pretty quickly, Jack Arute.
One of the things that they do at this Toyota 400 is all the starting drivers tour the racetrack with certain Toyota Tundra cars and with dealers. Tony Kanaan's dealer said, "Tony, should I bet on you today?" He said, "Well, I did." And he said, "Not to win the championship, to win the race." Tony said, "That's what I'm talking about." So I don't know if it's just about finishing 5th or better for Tony Kanaan today. At least as far as one dealer and Tony Kanaan is concerned, they intend to go out with a win.
They continue to set an incredible pace, averaging 197.9 miles an hour. But as we get toward the end of this stint, Jill DeFerrin, it seems like speeds at the top are beginning to fall off as the sun burns down on the track.
Well, I tell you, it certainly seems like Tony is faster than Buddy Rice.
Jamie Little.
Thomas Schechter is in, you guys. He's looking faster as the race goes on. He's moved up to 8th. Right now, no changes, fuel and tires, guys.
Buddy Rice on the pit road as well as we start through yet another series of green flag pit stops. Gary Gerald.
Again, 3 pits away as we watch Rice. They made changes on the handling the first 2 stops. No changes on stop number 3. This time, we wait and see. No indication of anything at the front. Tires, fuel, looks routine, and he's gone. But it's the first time, Paul, that we have not seen he and Castroneves in sync on their pit stops. Castroneves will be in this lap.
In fact, he's on the road right now with Tony Kanaan just behind him, and starts his turn into the Penske pit.
Here comes Elio. Oh, he has to lock it up, and he flat spotted one of the front tires getting onto pit road before the last stop. This time he might have flat spotted one getting into his box. Half turn, front wing, waiting for the fuel. As the race progresses, fueling takes longer. He's gone. Let's go to Jack.
And Tony Kanaan finishes a big run. Will he make it out in front of Elio Castroneves? He does, but what was interesting this time around, boys, is that Dan Weldon did not pit with his teammate Tony Kanaan. Why? He is going to run the string out and pit with Adrian Fernandez. That coming your way in about a lap and a half.
Well, you might as well run that strategy out, I would think.
What?
Dario Franchitti's on the pit road. Franchitti's coming in from 4th place. Fuel flows much slower as the head pressure in the big pit tank gets lower and lower.
A little bit of a miscue there, actually just a little bit of off timing when they went to actually release the car.
Here comes Fernandez and Dan Weldon.
Interesting scenario that Weldon would decide to stay with his dance partner, Adrian Fernandez, in this battle with his teammate.
Weldon sideways in the pit box, Jack.
Whoa.
But plenty of room to initiate and make the change of the tires and the fuel. Nominal stop for Adrian Fernandez as well. Now it's just taking a little longer than before to fill the tank, but both of the dance partners are away. But the question is, can Fernandez help Weldon get back to the front?
Other Penske car, Sam Hornish Jr. on the pit road. Roger calls him in.
You hear Roger in the background. Good job by Hornish as he comes in and hits his marks. Remember, this is the man who's won this race the last 2 years. Earlier this morning, he was added to the California Speedway Walk of Fame. They put his footprints, his signature, and a special plaque with his likeness commemorating his great victories the last 2 years. He's dealing from behind today, but a nice smooth stop for Team Penske.
And Sam lights him up as he roars out. And see the 14 car? Well, he's currently was shown as the leader as here comes Tony Kanaan around the high side of A.J. Foyt IV, who will come in to make his stop.
What happened there, Paul, is he actually was not far enough down on the white line and protecting his spot going into 3, had traffic going underneath him, and he was trying to get into the pit lane.
I tell you, that was a very, very close call. But the big winner out of this first round of pit stops, you're watching him now, is Tony Kanaan, who was over 2 seconds behind Elio going into this round of pit stops. And now here he is leading the race from Elio, just running underneath Ed Carpenter there. So a great round of pit stops for Tony, who's now leading the race.
You see that flash of sparks as they went over the bump over in turn 3. The cars are now heavy with fuel now. Tony Kanaan, who started in last place.
Easy to forget then, huh?
Yeah, with a great pit stop off of the AGR team, goes into the lead and now begins to stretch on Castroneves.
Watching here with Castroneves, guys, he's having a hard time getting the car down to the low line. He did that when they were going around Carpenter, had to sort of wait up on the high side for a moment. And the last set of turns in 1 and 2, he looked like he drifted high also. We'll have to see if the changes were made were not favorable for him.
Even with the stops, they're still averaging 197 miles an hour. And the leader is Tony Kanaan. Is he on his way to a championship and a race victory all at the same time? It seems likely. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. Well, at the California Speedway, Elio Castroneves, while we were away, took the lead back away from Tony Kanaan. But they are both continuing to hammer at one another.
They are indeed, but one of the things they need to watch out is a fuel mileage towards the end of the race, because I just did a few calculations here. If they keep running flat out, they might have to do an extra pit stop there before the end of the race, because from lap 127, which was when they last stopped, until the end of the race is 73 laps. If you divide that by 2, is about 36. So, and that's just about the number of laps they can do on each fuel tank.
Gilles de Fer, and that's exactly what Tony Kanaan at least is doing right now. Again, finding it far more comfortable and preferable to run behind Helio Castroneves than to lead. Why? Because they want to conserve just a little bit of fuel. I know they just made their last stop, next to last stop, but already the proactive minds are at work in Andretti Green Racing, just like you. As we watch Daniela, who is Tony Kanaan's newest addition, and she is not at all concerned right now about the run by her husband, but Kim Green is just a tad concerned about fuel mileage. Right now they're going to just ride for a minute.
You know what, Tony Kanaan has been a changed man in many ways since his marriage over the winter. She has really been a stabilizing force for him, and I'm sure in many ways is contributory to this championship. The battle for the lead, Scott Goodyear, is tightening down, because here comes Buddy Rice in third place, fastest last time around at 213.6 miles an hour. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Yeah, Paul, it's a little bit ironic, because they were just on the radio to Buddy Rice saying, help us out as best you can on fuel. So normally when you're talking that, you're talking about easing back, riding in the draft, getting that good mileage, which they tell us with the new fuel mapping that they have, you can get 2.5, I'm sorry, up to 2.5, almost to 3 without any problem riding in the draft. And the leaders, they say, can do a comfortable 2.5. My, how things have changed in just a couple of years here at California Speedway.
Well, Gilles de Fer, and those are big numbers.
Well, I tell you that one of the biggest issues they have now is saving fuel against reliability, because one of the ways they can save fuel is by making the engine run leaner. You know, Gary was just talking about a different fuel map and stuff like that. The engine produces a little bit less power, uses a little bit less fuel, but it runs hotter. And you run in California here, you run wide open all the time, and that's always an issue for reliability. So you want to run as rich as you can and still be able to get to the end safely. But reliability is also, I think, a little bit in everybody's mind.
It's Toyota and Honda running 1-2 in that ongoing battle between the engine manufacturers.
Yeah, also, you know, you have Toyota that's really been pushing the envelope to try to catch Honda on the power stakes, and you never know. Are the Toyota engine as reliable as it used to be? Hopefully.
This is the first time for them, really, with this new package. As you mentioned,
exactly right.
Coming here for a 400-mile event. So all these new updates just came this week and this weekend. So good point right now, because I'm sure that's on the mind of the drivers, because I know it will be on your mind and my mind, certainly when you're in the cockpit.
At this point, you start to hear everything that's going on around you. You know, every single noise the car makes, you're very aware of it.
And speaking of hearing things, obviously we've been monitoring Tony Kanaan's radio pretty closely, and the team is just trying to reassure him lap after lap. Let's listen.
Looking outside. Right corner. Hold your line. Clear. Good job. That's fourth place. Lead is Fernandez. I don't think I can say that any more than this, Jim, right now. Okay, you're doing a great job. Right corner. Still on your corner. Left plus clear. Good job, mate. Nevis has led the most laps. Just for your info, Nevis has led the most laps.
Of course, that one voice is that of Kim Green, one of the mainstays in that Andretti Green Racing team, just keeping Tony Kanaan cool. But look now as the battle for the lead joins once again.
One of the things that Kim was telling Tony there is that there's no way that Dan can lead the most laps now, and obviously telling Tony every single bit of important information with regards to the championship.
And right now, as you watch these cars, all three of them in the league with Castroneves, Kanaan, and Rice, and Tony Kanaan right there, as he is on the verge of winning the championship. He actually is probably just buying a race team here very shortly. The bicycle racing team that he works up with in Miami, he's going to buy the team because he wants to make sure that those guys have all the best equipment to go off and go racing with.
Tony Kanaan now needs only finish in 5th place in order to wrap up the championship. But how does Tony Kanaan, the race driver, see himself as a person?
Hello, I'm Tony Kanaan from Brazil. South Beach in Miami is where I hang out. Like most drivers, I run to stay in shape, but I'm also a triathlete. It's tough to look good after a swim, but I will pull it off. I pedal and pedal on 2 wheels. It may not be 220 miles per hour, but nothing clears your mind like a good ride. I'm Tony Kanaan. I do have the best conditioned body in the Indy racing league. Have you seen my feet? I won't let you, because my right one is my secret weapon.
Well, that magic right foot is working now for Tony Kanaan. 3rd place. He's been battling back and forth with Buddy Rice. Drops to 2nd once again. And, of course, his objective at the end of the day, besides the win of the race, is this cup, denoting Tony as the IRL IndyCar Series champion. Oh, yeah, Texas Motor Speedway. Don't forget to join us in 2 weeks on ABC Sports for the Chevy 500 from Texas Motor Speedway, Sunday, October 17th, 12:30 in the East. My man DeFerrin, my man Goodyear, both have done very, very well there. But right now, we're at California Speedway, and it's the Toyota Indy 400, past the halfway point, well past it, actually past the 3/4 point with 153 laps of the 200 already complete. And Elio Castroneves is out in front with Tony Kanaan sitting right behind him, looking for a race win. Kanaan currently is in the position he needs to win the championship at the end of this race. He needs a 5th or better. Foyt the 4th in the 14 car has had a good day. He's had a great weekend, but boy, look how high he got here.
Probably the car is doing what we call pushing. Remember, that's when the back wheels got more grip than the front. Slides up the race course just a little bit, close to the wall, but you know, he is so brave. Keeps his foot on the gas. The back end gets loose because of the big push he had in the front. And here he goes, back up there again, going up high to the wall, sliding down. I'll tell you, what a ride that is.
And that got what somebody was calling him now Quattro. That got Quattro a round of applause from Jill DeFerrin.
I tell you what, that was a lucky one, let me tell you. And his heart probably started beating about halfway past that. That was unbelievable. Even I stopped breathing here.
You've got Grandpa's heart in charge, and that's for sure, you guys. It wasn't making him too happy. Grandpa Foyt sitting up there in the box in a sling. He dislocated his shoulder, but he kept telling AJ Foyt, keep it off the wall. If the car is that bad, just bring it in and park it. But AJ's stayed out there, and he's managing to pick them off one at a time. He's running 12th right now.
AJ Foyt the 4th may be going nuts because he tried out Davey Hamilton, super modified, out here in California on the 18th of September. Jill DeFerrin, you made your reputation in these, didn't you?
Unfortunately, I did not, Paul. I never did race super modifies, but I tell you, it's a hard decision for a driver to pull into the pits or not. You know, I know sometimes you feel like the car is so bad that I may get in an accident, so I might as well pull in. But, you know, every driver is competitive, and I don't care what you're driving out there. You want to keep going, and you want to try to do the best you can, and that's really what separates you from somebody else.
Those are the first 3, and that's the separation right there. Castroneves, Kanaan, Rice. Battle for the lead of the race.
I'll tell you, Weldon must be getting absolutely desperate right now. He's still not able to get by Fernandez. He's still running 5th place right behind Fernandez. As time goes by, this is the worst case scenario for Dan Weldon.
Well, in 30 laps since the last pit stop, Weldon on a slightly different strategy. He's probably got 2 to 3 laps further to go. So part of his game is certainly going to play out on that next pit stop coming up very quickly. Franchitti and Mira. Mira has the target, fastest lap of the race. Guy is always up there. He's amazingly quick.
You know, he's had so many opportunities in the past to get in a car as a relief driver, but here he had the opportunity to get in and show what he had. He has the ability. He's certainly shown that. Hope he's around next year because he's taken the ride, proved that he can do it.
Let's not forget, he hit the wall already today.
Yeah,
and,
fastest lap despite that may have been the lap, come to think of it. It was back early.
Well, he's really doing a good job.
Hard to find a more likable kid. He's a great guy. And I understand that he is in very good shape for next year. I hope that that's true. You know, it's at a strange part of the season. They in racing, they call it the silly season because all the deals are being made for next year, new contracts being written across the board. And because that, sometimes you can talk about it, sometimes you want to be careful because you don't want to say anything in the middle of a deal while it's working where you might mess the whole thing up.
Well, you're right, Paul, and there's some rumblings going around in the garage area just this past weekend that maybe the Delphi sponsorship might move over to this team here, Panther Racing, and be an additional car to the Pennzoil car and maybe even the Menards car. And then you keep hearing Patrick Carpentier maybe coming over to join the Red Bull Cheever Racing team. But you ask any of the owners, all very quiet and mum about it.
Oh, yeah, it's funny in the garage area. An owner sees you coming and he knows what you're going to ask and he's gone. Yep, time for me to go. I got to get out of here.
Yeah, right now, Kanaan and Castroneves looking. What a smart move by Kanaan. Both getting right behind the 55 car right now. And Mitsuru is going to end up trying to keep low and keep out of these guys' way. But right now, the best guy on that is Castroneves. Takes the hide one, goes around the outside, picks the perfect line. Kanaan thought the better of it.
Well, leader's still on a string.
Those are always tense moments for any driver, you know, coming by traffic guys like this. And there are situations that can be totally unpredictable. You may end up in an accident or touching somebody without even noticing it almost.
But almost all of the guys seem to have a very high level. Look at Buddy. Oh!
That was close.
Oh!
He got in the dirty air of Kanaan there and just pushed up and nearly hit the fence. And his tires will be dirty now, turning into this turn 3 now.
Yeah, fortunately, he's pretty close to his pit stop. He'd done that earlier. It might have been a pretty serious problem, been an even more serious problem if he'd actually gotten it up and brushed the wall. So his teammates been up there now. Buddy Rice went up and took a look at the wall. Fortunately, no contact this time. Don't forget, when this race is over, you can log on and actually chat with the winner of the race. We're going to look at that again.
See, the car pushes right up to the right side, very close to that safer barrier there. All that dust that's coming up there, nobody runs up there anytime. So all that debris is up there, and also the black rubber off all the tires moves up there. Not a great place to be.
And following the pattern of earlier, Thomas Scheckter is the first to make a stop under green, Jamie.
Thomas Scheckter coming in. They just made a small adjustment on the front wing. They said he's happy with the car, but they're still getting out of sequence. I asked them if this is their last stop, and they said they can't tell. They can't touch the fuel map knobs, so there's no way to tell at this point. Gary?
We're waiting here for both Buddy Rice and Helio Castroneves, Jamie. This should be the last stop. They've told Buddy Rice, who is in, that there are no issues with fuel. And again, no wing changes on the Rahal Letterman team. Car number 15 is rolling. He is gone. Now we await Castroneves in the Penske pit. Helio, you've got to be patient because remember we talk about how the gravity fueling slows down late in a long race like this at 400 miles. The driver has to wait until he's instructed to leave. So we'll keep an eye on that. They asked him if he wanted any changes on the car. He emphatically told Tim Cindric no. He likes the way it's working. So we watch. No, there is a change. A last-minute wing adjustment. Fueling complete. He's gone. It looks very good.
Good catch on that, Gary, as they do make a slight change to the nose wing of Helio Castroneves. Here comes Tony Kanaan.
Well, those are very tense moments, you know. It's always the last stop. If something goes wrong, you don't have any time to recover.
It's the longest drive at 60 miles an hour that Tony Kanaan will have. He pulls for what he hopes to be the final time in the service of a 7-Eleven crew. Well, you could say he wanted to go before the fuel was fully in, but patience and focus rewarded Tony Kanaan. They got a full load, and they should be able to go the distance, now without a splash and go. Now Adrian Fernandez will be pulling onto pit road. He will be the final stop for this team led by John Ward as well. Fernandez, who ran so well at the beginning of the race, still trying to climb back up the ladder. For these pit crew members, they know that these seconds are exactly their opportunity to make the difference for their team. They reset the fuel meter. Waiting and waiting for the last
all clear, all clear.
And that's the sound that a driver likes to hear. All clear. Back to the war on the racetrack.
You got a good view there of the single point refueling that a couple of the teams use. It was authorized within the IRL as Dan Weldon comes in as of the Indy 500, and it combines the vent and the fuel. Most people use the double hose system.
Dan Weldon utilizing that single fuel hose as well as this team goes to work, trying to chase down Tony Kanaan. Weldon showing the same sort of focus. Nice finish for Dan Weldon, but not good enough as his teammate roared by at full speed.
The hopes for a championship for Dan Weldon are all but gone now. Kanaan looks like he may have a championship here. Here's Hornick.
Cycling the last of those who have been on the leaderboard, Sam Hornish glides number 6 into position. Roger Penske with his left hand extended, holding him, telling him to watch him. There's the wave, and Sam is back out.
What a phenomenal race this has become, averaging now at 199.4 miles an hour. With those stops, Castroneves goes back to the lead of the race, driving for that man, Roger Penske. Fastest race in history was last year here at 207 miles an hour. Now it's a run to the finish. Oh, and finally, they're getting a break. The yellow just came out. It is for debris. The final stop has been made. It's a sprint to the finish, and they think something's come off of the 17 car. Vito O'Meara was in the pits. They had some problem with the car, and they weren't sure why it just suddenly went dead. But now apparently they've reported up to the IRL race control that something's missing on that car, and there's only one place it can be.
Well, on the racetrack, Paul, absolutely. And they say it might be part of the drive shaft or the CV joint. And, you know, it makes me wonder with that big bump on the backstretch sometimes is maybe some attrition starting to happen to some of these cars from getting into this race now just close to 173 miles. 173 laps we have now.
Yeah, the bump in turn 3 has been kicking the back end of the car up in the air so high that it hits the rev limiter, and that can't help the CV joints. Don't forget, you can chat with the leader after the end of the race on the internet at ESPN.com, keyword IRL. Now, these are the racers. In our minds, we are all Walter Mitty. Some of us actually do something about it. And Jamie Little, in the past couple of weeks, decided she was going to learn to drive.
You know, my job at ABC and ESPN is talking about racing. Well, I'm tired of talking about racing. I wanted to get in a car myself. So I called up ESPN's Russell Racing School for 3 days of nothing but open-wheel fun.
It's a chance for somebody even like you who's never been behind the wheel of a race car before to come and experience 3 days of open-wheel racing, and we take people from the very beginning steps and keep feeding more horsepower and more horsepower. So at the end of 3 days, you're out passing people on the open straightaways.
How good these IRL drivers are until you've been in a car yourself. I'm telling you, I'm absolutely exhausted. Those athletes are amazing. I want to thank ESPN's Russell Racing School for having us. Now it's time to be in the advanced car. I'm going to give her a little spin. Later.
Okay, for starters, Jamie, you don't want to say that you're going to take a race car for a spin. So put that down in your list of things to do. She did, in fact, get into the advanced car and took off to learn that session.
I'm in the expert car, the advanced class. I'm actually going to take it, so I'm going to go give her a spin. Oh, damn. Why am I not? See you guys
Come on,
at the race.
Jamie.
Oh, God.
Press that clutch.
Grind me a pound. Now watch this. Watch this. Oh, yeah. Yeah, right. We're going to start with the gestures.
Get out of my way.
That's the early part of road rage already, isn't it?
Yeah, Jamie, there's the other thing. Those gestures can be very costly in the pro ranks.
Yes, they certainly can. And thanks so much for showing those outtakes. We had a great time, though, and I am going to go back for that advanced class. And then they've talked me into racing. So I'm going to get the full experience, and I'm going to get it dialed in. And next time, you know, we're not going to have those outtakes. But let's get back to real racing and Jack a Root.
Well, we'll see if you can get you a ride in Andretti Green Racing. Jamie's gone to school now. She wants to drive for you, Michael. He goes, oh, good. You weren't too convincing here. Are you really bound up real tight about this chase for the championship? You've been stationed here in Dan Weldon's pit. You've been monitoring everything going on with your team. What does it feel like to you right now?
It's going okay. You know, we just got to, this yellow didn't help any for Tony for sure, because now it's going to be a shootout. But we'll see. Dan now is up in there as well. But the guy I've been watching all day is Fernandez. I think he's going to be the guy to beat now. But, you know, where Tony is now will win him the championship, and that's what we want.
How do the dynamics change, though, when you chase for a championship and the two guys that are chasing each other drive for the very same car owner?
You let them race. You know, that's the fun part about it, and they love it too. They are really good friends, and they want to beat each other, but you know they're going to be good, clean racing.
Guys?
Well, there's Dan Weldon. He's currently 5th. He needs 1st, and it really doesn't matter at any point because Tony Kanaan is now in 2nd place, and he only needs a 5th or better. When we go back to the green flag, it no doubt will be a sprint to the finish. All the stops are done. All the work is done. It'll be Castroneves, Kanaan, Rice, and Adrian Fernandez, with Michael Andretti surprisingly picking Fernandez as a possible winner. Green flag just came out, and in turn 2 of the lap, A.J. Foyt, the 4th, went up and brushed the wall, and that brought the caution out again. But even before that happened, Elio Castroneves had to give way to a charging Tony Kanaan, who now sits in front under the caution.
Paul, you know, I like A.J. Foyt, the 4th. You know, he is brave. He drives that thing no matter what. And sooner or later, he's going to get something underneath him that's going to be able to take him to the front, because he is a good driver in my estimation. And you can see right now, you look in the side of the car, there's no white walls left there any longer. It's all black wall tire because he rubbed off that Firestone Firehawk.
Yep, no name there.
No name there. I tell you, these 2 yellows really totally changed the complexion of the race. At first, it looked like it was a 2 or 3 horse race maximum for the win, and now this yellow really changed everything. I mean, Dan Weldon now has a shot at winning the race, whereas before he was nearly 10 seconds behind. Adrian has got a chance, and here's the restart again. Here's Tony on the outside. He had a good restart, pulling through the gears, going into turn 1, already got the lead. Very good restart. Great anticipation.
And then Foyt, the 4th, got right up into the wall, did that brush, same thing that Vitor Mira did. That's actually today the heaviest hit we've had with the wall, and Foyt, the 4th, continued on. This is from Scott Sharp, and there is 4 up against the wall. See that hesitancy out of Scott Sharp?
Yeah, even Scott Sharp was understeering, pushing towards the wall a little bit, and got a little bit nasty on him just on the way through. But you know, Foyt wasn't running too bad on those restarts. You get a lot of that dirty air and the car moves itself around. But I'll tell you, you know, I give this kid a lot of credit. Just a young guy, 20 years old, the youngest guy in the series right now. I'm sure Granddad probably told him, come on in. Here's his granddad with that.
Yeah, he apparently had trouble at the farm with a backhoe, and Granddad is going down fine for. Kid is good.
Well, I tell you, these are still very, very tense moments for Tony Kanaan, because he's got the championship in his grasp
Did
now.
he just show his hand, though, on that restart and might not be able to pull it off again?
I think the safest place for him to be quite honest, is probably at the lead. Now he's got enough fuel to go all the way to the end. He's going to run full fuel now. There's no going to be no more saving fuel or anything like this. Maybe the best place for him to be is at the lead.
You look down through the order, Scott Dixon is actually a lap down. He's in 9th place. He's saw his #1 car come through. The champion last year, not yet won a race this year, but neither has Helio Castroneves. And if anybody is desperate, it is Helio. It's just a cruise now, in fact, for Tony Kanaan. But Jill, we're talking two Brazilian guys that have known each other all their lives.
And they also are very, very competitive against each other. They cannot stand be beaten by the other. You know, it's a really competitive edge. I know because I hang out with both of them down in South Beach, down in Miami. You heard all about it on here earlier on the broadcast. But you know, they really want to beat each other, and I can't wait for this restart because Helio, like you said, has not won a race. He's got the bit within his teeth. He's gonna go for it. So I think this restart is crucial.
Johnny Rutherford took the pace car off the course. There is Michael. He's going to finish first and second in the championship as an owner. Before the start of this race, we talked to Kanaan and to Tony and Dan Weldon about his owner.
If we're wrong, he's not afraid to tell us, but he can see why we think, and it just...
It seems to me that he's always on our side a lot more than any other side. He will listen to us first before he makes his decision.
And here comes the green flag, and we're back to racing. 18 to go. Tony Kanaan gets a great restart. Pulls away from everybody else. Buddy Rice moves on Helio Castroneves.
This is great news for Tony. I mean, not only he got a great restart, but now you're going to get Helio and Buddy fighting for position. Now with Scott Dixon there as well, and this just helps Tony pull away.
Adrian Fernandez sitting up there on the high side right now, and finally gets his nose around Dixon. Dan Weldon's right in behind him.
I'll tell you what, now there's no more waiting to see who's faster and things like that. Now I want to get to the front, get out of my way. It's just a completely different attitude to this time of the race.
Castroneves and Rice go side by side.
Danny Weldon going high in the track with Hornish Jr. behind him also. Everybody's having difficulty in that turn 2 segment today, coming off just a little bit high.
Hornish gets low on Weldon in the #6 Marlboro Team Penske car. Now race control is suggesting a black flag for Dan Weldon.
Yep, you know, he just looked like he was coming off turn 1, turn 2, knew where Hornish was, start to run him up the road just a little bit. And you remember Indy a couple of years ago where Weldon took Hornish down to the grass, and then 1 turn later,
so the
Weldon went upside down.
Penalty is a block.
They're calling it blocking right now, guys, because he moved up the racetrack on him, took him high to up in turn 2 as we saw. So it's a stop and go penalty, or he could park him. Remember, Brian Barnhart, director of the racing for the IRL, has been very stern on what's going on here in the past couple of races with all the issues in the pit lane or the issues on the racetrack with blocking.
Yeah, he doesn't fool around at all. The battle is at the front, the top 3. Kanaan, Castroneves, Rice, they're all together. Fernandez closes in.
Now Weldon right there, the car that's in the middle of the screen right now, the red and white 26, and the orange and white car on the high side right now is pushing him up on the right-hand side, pushing him up the road.
Well, that was a funny call, actually. We'll see. Oh, here comes Weldon, I think, into the pits.
There's the answer for the black flag. It's a drive-through penalty. Dan doesn't... Whoa! And that's Alex Barron. He was in 11th place, and that's a pretty substantial hit. Right side. Now with 14 to go, think what that's going to turn the finish into.
Absolutely.
Alex appears to be okay. Yeah, there's a signal he's okay. Takes the wheel off, sets it on top of the front column.
Just before we continue on with this, let's go back to the Weldon thing and just talk about it for a second. You know, Weldon had some traffic on the lower side of him, so it'll be very interesting to sort of see what that comes out with, because maybe he had no place to go except move up the racetrack.
So that stop and go came just before this, so if there was any good news in it for Weldon, that may be that while he was coming out, the front of the field was slow and going into 3.
And the key thing is he probably did not go down a lap, which is a very lucky thing for him in this situation on the unlucky part from Alex Barron.
We're going to look back from Townsend Bell. There's Barron.
Bit further back. Yeah. Okay. You saw he was a little bit high, and he started to drop down underneath Bell, and you get that dirty air that we talk about. The back end of the car got loose. The car is starting to oversteer, swaps ends, and Jill, as you know, then you just become a passenger on your way to hitting the wall. And this is a racetrack that has that safer barrier, the steel and foam energy reduction barrier, which actually helps reduce the impact going against the wall.
It's nice to see him walking after such a big incident like that. And sometimes what can happen, for example, you bang your knees together, you can hardly walk, so much it hurts. But thankfully, Barron is okay.
So Alex Barron climbs out. It is still going to be probably now a 3-lap battle to the finish between Kanaan and Castroneves.
Back in the heat and the sunshine of Southern California with just over 10 laps to go, a championship to be determined. Michael Andretti's drivers, of course, figure in that as we've chronicled all day. But this black flag incident for Dan Weldon, how tough is that to swallow?
Yeah, pretty tough, because to me it didn't look that bad. I've seen a lot worse things happening out there, and I was quite surprised at the call, but it's the way it goes.
How frustrated is he?
He's frustrated, you know. It cost him a good 3 or 4 spots, so you know, now it's going to make it tough because, you know, Buddy's up there now and he's going to gain some points on him, so it was really disappointing.
How about the situation as far as Tony Kanaan is concerned now, getting this much closer to clinching this whole deal? Great satisfaction. I know you've talked about that. What concerns do you have for these remaining laps when you go green?
Well, just stay safe and hopefully stay in the position he's at. You know, that's what we want to try to do. You know, he asked me how he should approach this race, and I told him just go for the win. And so far, he's listening. I hope he listens all the way.
Well, from a man who knows what it takes to win a championship, now owning a team with a possible championship, and there aren't many of those. That's a very short list. We'll enjoy these last 10 laps.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
We'll enjoy the last 10 laps.
It's going to be fun, for sure.
There's one of the advantages of a driver, now owner, is he can look at that call and analyze it as a driver. We've got 2 here, Jill DeFerrin and Scott Goodyear, and I'm not sure you agree.
Well, you know, I certainly understand what Weldon was trying to do. He was getting a bit of a draft off of Dixon, who's ahead of him, who's down a lap, and he wanted to move up the racetrack. But you have to be cognizant of what's around you. And I think that's what Brian Barnhart was looking at, is that he made that move and moved Hornish up the racetrack. So, you know, in his case, he looks at that and says, hey, he should be aware of that, and that's an infraction. Could have caused an accident, and I'm sure that's why the penalty was there. Jill?
Well, Scott, I actually disagree with you, because I think if you look at the replay carefully, you could actually make an argument that that Hornish was trying to play chicken with Weldon, and the proper etiquette would be for Weldon to move up the road and Hornish to follow him up the road. And I actually think that the penalty came later on in turn 2, where he was in front of Hornish and just kept moving up into Hornish's lane to try to get the air out of him. But, you know.
But if you and me were on the top side,
yeah,
we'd be trying to box him down on the bottom side behind Dixon.
See, but you can't do that. That's I think it's illegal to do that, and not very nice, Scott, okay?
Talking from a guy that was very nice.
Yeah, there we go. That's the best one I've heard today. You weren't very nice.
Yeah, Scott, be nice.
They have always been pleasant on the racetrack.
Well, I tell you, with this restart here now, it means that Dan Weldon has one more chance. He must be frustrated as he can be, but he's got one more chance to go, and here we go for the restart. He's one guy he's got no option but to go for the win.
Green, 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 green.
Castroneves sets up high and then drops right in behind Tony Kanaan. You ride with Fernandez. He looks high. He's looking for Castroneves.
Still there.
Remember what Michael Andretti said? He thought maybe Fernandez might be a winner. Kanaan still out in front. Kanaan pulls away. Fernandez stays right with him.
Great restart by Fernandez. I'm telling you, he must have some great restart again. Really anticipated it well, and now he's going for Kanaan as well.
Fernandez goes for the lead.
We've seen this so many times before from Fernandez. He's doing it, but Castroneves got past just by about 3 or 4 cars and actually had them going high and low on him going down the backstretch.
Oh, Tony Kanaan's on the point of the pyramid now. What does he do? Does he go for this lead, or does he just take it a little bit easy and settle for something other than the win, but settling for the championship? Right together on the backstretch.
They're so close together. I actually wish he would take a little easy, because this is making me very nervous.
Still there.
Nose ahead for Fernandez.
Still there. Still there.
Ooh, very close there.
Look at all this crowd standing up, just loving this stuff right now. But I got to tell you, oh! Thomas Enge and Thomas Scheckter.
Big accident.
That one was coming off at turn 4.
Pretty hard smack with the wall. Fernandez was shown as the leader at the line.
And this may be the end of the race.
As the yellow came out, exactly.
That is a lot of damage on that yellow Pennzoil car, guys.
194 laps complete. Fernandez had a nose ahead at the line. So as the yellow came out, it was scored as Fernandez, Kanaan, Hornish Jr.
Now you saw him go down on the apron. He knows there's a crash in 4 because his spotters have told him that. He's looking for a clean way through the racetrack so his tires don't run over any of the debris and maybe give him a puncture.
Well, Thomas Scheckter is okay. Tomas Enge from the Czech Republic in his first race ends it with a crash against the wall. Look on the top of the Delphi safety team there, that little bump. They now have a camera system, helps the medical team keep track of what happens once they go to the rescue point. Whoa, that was just a big loss.
Thomas Scheckter, the yellow car, with Thomas Eng in the front. Thomas Eng just got completely loose. The car swapped ends on him. Thomas Scheckter was just a passenger in this, guys. He had absolutely nowhere to go.
Nowhere to go, for sure.
Probably pushing that brake pedal through the forward bulkhead, though, trying to get it stopped. Here's coming to the line.
Look at these guys fighting for position.
How? Okay. So, yeah, all right, I got it.
That might be the victory there, guys. If we don't
that
get back.
may have been it. 9/10,000ths of a second as they got to the line. Gary?
Well, Michael Andretti immediately went sprinting down to the pit of Tony Kanaan and checked with the team, and then just got confirmation apparently through officials at the IRL. You're going to be back in first place with your driver?
We're back in first. Well, I saw the yellow came out before the start-finish line, and obviously he passed us before the after the start-finish line. So they're correcting it. So it's great. You know, they made a good call.
Just another wrinkle in your new career as an owner, huh?
Yeah, right. No, it's just awesome. I mean, Tony did an awesome job today, and the whole 7-Eleven team. So just dream year.
Dream year. You think they'll get this thing cleaned up in time to get going? You get any feel for that?
I hope not.
That's about as honest as it gets, I think, right there.
I knew that answer was coming.
Yeah, one very relaxed Michael Andretti. So they put Tony Kanaan back into position. The yellow being called at the time. Well, now we're getting a different update, and now they're suggesting that the timing line in the 4th turn, Fernandez had a nose ahead, and so they may be going to swap these positions again. It's part of that whole thing of the minute the yellow comes out, that in theory freezes the field, but now trying to figure out exactly how to freeze the field is still a technical marvel.
I tell you, I'm glad I'm not an official at this moment, but I think regardless, the biggest thing here for Tony is if they don't go green, that means the championship for him, whether he's first or second.
Yeah, but you've been through this with your teammate Elio at the Indianapolis 500 v. Paul Tracy. Final lap, they're hammering into the turn. Yellow comes out. It took every mathematician going to try to figure out when that yellow came out. So they get Thomas Schechter's car and Enge's car off the course. We'll get medical updates on both of them, but the news appears to be good right now, and we'll be back. See if we're going to finish this under power.
3 years of free.
Back at the California Speedway. Now we've frozen what we believe to be the way that they are determining how the cars are lined up right now, Scott.
Well, the car on your left-hand side just over here is Tony Kanaan, and the timeline is somewhere in this area here. So right now, I would have to say that that's probably what they're looking at. You know, we are aware that the green light is still flashing, but you remember there's 3 different systems going on here. We'll have to watch to see if the light actually goes to yellow, but they have a much further advanced system than we do right now, and you can see the accident has just happened behind us. So there's a timing factor there, and the IRO went back and looked at it and really came to the conclusion that Tony Kanaan was still the leader at that time.
The pace is going to pick up, though, because we're hoping for a restart and a run 1 lap to the finish.
It is a restart. I think they're definitely going to go for the restart here, and that's the race decider, 1 lap.
Here we go.
Good start by Tony here, but here comes Fernandez.
Watch, Tony's going high. He's going to push him up high in the racetrack. Look how close they got, and that's almost 200.
They went 3 wide, then almost 4 wide behind the leaders. They come nose to nose down the backstretch. Fernandez high. Kanaan is on the low side. Buddy Rice comes around Sam Hornish and goes for 3rd place. Dan Weldon's down on the low side of Hornish. The battle is for the lead, though. Tony Kanaan now has just a few inches on Fernandez. They make a turn for the line. They're still side by side. Fernandez just a bit ahead. And Fernandez takes the win. 3rd win this season. And Tony Kanaan takes the championship. Dan Weldon was able to push his way up into 3rd place on that 1-lap run. Wow. Yeah, you bet. You bet. John Ward, engineer on the car. Boy, they have had a good season. A late start getting over to the IRL, but what a year it's been for this guy, Adrian Fernandez. But what about Tony Kanaan and AGR Racing? Well, championship.
Look at this.
Yeah, he knows it. Party down, baby. That's Brian Herta going to celebrate with him.
Now they want to make sure.
Keating, the whole team.
All 4 of them. All 4 of them. I'll tell you, what a great sight, huh?
That's terrific.
They almost hit each other there.
Yeah, that would be just a remarkable end, wouldn't it? Well, we were showing off on the backstretch. Congratulations, Michael. 1-2 in the championship. Well, with 1 lap to go, they came out with the green flag. Great work by the Delphi safety team. And there is the finish. Wow. High side does tend to work if you're going to run for a close finish, though, doesn't it?
Remember we talked about Adrian Fernandez a little bit earlier, the only driver over 40 years old, Paul.
Won 3
Gary
races
Gerald.
already.
Michael's got to be a happy guy.
Well, he's getting congratulated. Kevin Savory coming over there with a hug. And I'll tell you what, just about the time you think you've seen everything in motorsports, there's always another wrinkle, and you've just experienced one.
Yeah, there is, but almost a perfect day. But, boy, Tony did a hell of a job. And then Dan coming up there snuck in and finished 3rd, which put him ahead of Buddy. So, good day.
Are you disappointed that it couldn't have been the perfect ending that you thought might happen here for Tony?
I guess you can't get too greedy.
It has been a fantastic season here again, completing all the laps, top 5 finishes except for the season opener. Have you ever seen anything like that in your career, Michael?
I got to say, no. I mean, it's been the most incredible thing I've ever seen. So it's just great. We got to enjoy it now.
Where's the party tonight, by the way?
We're going to take Tony out and have a little Jim Beam tonight.
Another subtle way to get your sponsor in. Look at Tony Kanaan and Dan Weldon. That's friendship. So here, after 15 of the 16 races, with that spread of 80 points, Tony Kanaan wraps up the championship. We'll be back and talk with all of them.
Here at Fontana at the California Speedway, Adrian Fernandez has yet again validated a decision that was made early in the season. You didn't make it to Homestead, but you come here to California, you win yet another race. Wow, 2 in a row. Way to go.
I tell you, I'm so excited for my guys. We worked so hard, and we've been on a roll in the last few races. We know what we want, and this baby's been fantastic. I tell you, it's you know, my team is they've done all the job, and I'm so proud of them. Consistent. This is a race.
Let's go back to this last lap. We're showing it right now, and just take us through the emotional roller coaster and what you were trying to do.
Well, firstly, I thought I was leading before that yellow came, so I was discussing with John Ward about it, and they said, well, the 11 is in front. Okay, I never thought that they were going to really get the restart. It was a lot of mess on the racetrack, but they did a fantastic job on restarting, and I tell you, even in the restart, I got sideways. I put so much power. I was just trying to get Tony so bad that I got sideways. I knew I had a stronger car. Tony really respected his line and everything, and it was a great finish. I mean, so close. I was just looking at his left tires. I said, oh, come on, Tony, remember me?
You had a little fun, though, with Tony before the race, making fun of the fact that he was so far back from you. Did you kind of regret that comment when you were so close to him on that last lap?
Tony's so strong, being so strong. I don't know if he clinched the championship, but
he did.
So if he did, I take my hat to him. He's been fantastic. I know him since he started in Indy Lights, and he's a really good driver. I knew he was going to be in the front. It was just a matter of time.
Adrian, I want to go back in your career because much like Tony Kanaan, it's been both up and down for Adrian Fernandez. I mean, you had to sleep in your trailer. You had to do so much to try and control your own destiny. You and Tom Anderson do exactly that now. And all of a sudden, you are a major force in IndyCar racing.
Well, you know, you just have to wait when your opportunities come. And then when you get them, you know, you just get a few good opportunities. And when you get them, you have to take you have to take them with all your arms. But, you know, the most significant thing for me is not that Adrian Fernandez is winning as a driver. He's winning also as a team owner with a great partner like Tom Anderson. And that, for me, is everything.
Paul, one thing that he's got to work on, though, when he pulled into victory lane, it's the opposite end of where his team was located. I had to help him get out of the car.
Oh, I'm surprised he got out at all. We have some emotion. There is part of it. Tony Kanaan has taken the championship. Everybody on the team is happy about that. The monkey is off his back early. His wife, there may be the key story in this championship once it's all said and done. Total stabilizing influence for Tony Kanaan. But he has always been dedicated on a championship, and the dream of he and his now deceased father finally fulfilled for Tony Kanaan. We'll be right back. There's going to be some serious partying tonight. Gary Gerald?
I think it's already begun. It's just been a succession of hugs. Here comes Kim Green now, one of the other owners in this series, embracing Tony Kanaan with a bear hug. And Tony, you've talked about how you've tried to treat every race as just another race. How difficult was that today? And then tell us about the last lap with Adrian. You battled not only for a championship, but for another victory.
It was just another race, if you look at it.
Yeah, right.
I was racing for it, and you know, too bad I couldn't win. But I tell you, that's the second place that tastes the best in my life. So I don't care. Congratulations to Adrian. I tried my best. I knew he was quicker than me on the straightaway. If it wasn't for that early yellow, he's going to be ahead. So I did my best. I was worried just about the championship, and we got it. So we have a mission now. We go to Texas and make sure Dan finishes second.
Was there any kind of a tug of war in your head, part of you saying, should I just back out and give it to him, or should I challenge all the way, even though you risk contact because you were just inches apart?
When you start to do things different than you always did, that's when you make mistakes. So I said, you know what, I'm going for it. If it's going to be mine, it's going to be mine. Obviously, I was trying to be a little careful, but I mean, I knew Adrian was going to take care of me. You know, I know the way he races clean. So we tried to keep space between each other, and once he put himself ahead, I didn't move my car, he didn't move his car, he won clean. So
I want to take you back to the start of the 400 miles. You're at the back of the pack in 21st place, and yet you're picking off people. Tell us about those first few laps, and did you have any concerns as you tried to sort your way through the traffic?
No, I was driving as fast as I could. I mean, I need to thank my my engineers, you know, Eric and all the guys, because they gave me a great car, man, and I just drove. Basically, I just drove. And Daddy used to call me Miss Daisy. I probably drove like a Miss Daisy a little bit today.
How much pressure does this take off your shoulders going to the season ender in 2 weeks in Texas?
I don't know if I'm going.
And with that, gentlemen, we crown a new champion and we go to Jamie Little.
Well, Dan Wheldon is chomping at the bit. He wanted to interrupt his teammate Tony Kanaan so badly. He was just begging me for the mic. But these two have become such good friends, and you were the one factor, the one guy that could have stopped him from getting that championship today. Now that it's all said and done, what are your thoughts?
I think he's the best champion the IRL has had so far. And I think, you know, it's fantastic for the team. They've worked very hard for this, and to produce 4 equal cars like they do and as competitive as they are, and we ought to get on as well. It's incredible.
How has it been in the camp, becoming such good friends, but now there truly is a competition going on? It was down to the wire. Did your dynamic change at all?
No, not at all. We race each other really, really hard, and certainly you could see that we had quick cars today. If it wasn't for Brian Barnhart's rash decision, we maybe could have pushed Tony into victory circle. But it's just very, very unique, and I think everybody should join us for the party we're going to have tonight, because it's going to be a hell of one. There's going to be a lot of Jim Beam flying, let me tell you.
All right, Paul, I think we're invited too to the party. Let's go.
Well, it's not official yet, and it won't be for a couple of weeks, but the fact has been accomplished. That man, the very likable Tony Kanaan, is now the champion of the IRL IndyCar Series. The dream of Tony Kanaan has come true. He is the champion. Final 2 turns in front of him, looking for his 2nd IRL win and back-to-back wins at Phoenix. He loved this track. It loves him. Tony Kanaan takes the win. Dixon 2nd. Tony Kanaan had everybody covered all day long. What lies in store at Texas? Now Tony Kanaan makes that final turn, heads for the finish line. Tony Kanaan scores his 2nd of the season, and with that, we'll take the IRL IndyCar Series points lead. We're green, and Tony Kanaan keeps him back, finishes ahead of Hornish, Castroneves, and Manning. Yeah, the racing fates do reward nice people. They're 2 of the best, Dan Weldon and Tony Kanaan, as Tony starts to celebrate his championship. We'll be right back. Well, Adrian Fernandez winning the race here at California Speedway, moved up a couple of positions in the points fight, but that big number up there at the top with Tony Kanaan, the most points ever scored in a season, gives him the championship. The unofficial results of the race are, of course, with that last